Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Not that cold of a night in Indianapolis. I don't know, it was in the 30s somewhere, cold night. But and not a cold night of shooting for A&M. They actually shot the ball well, but a cold night in terms of the result, OB. Welcome in.
Yeah, I'm not too upset about it because we talked about it. No, it's difficult to beat a good Arkansas team in Fayetteville. So I kind of anticipate it, but you look back and you see Zach Clemens going crazy and Aggie doing Aggie things and Marcus Hill doing Marcus Hill things. And you think, if a couple other guys that usually produce, had they been on their averages, then, that was a game that you might have been able to pull off the upset.
You are listening to the world-famous TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. As you can see, the show is on the road. We're in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. We just finished a day ago. We finished our first round of interviews. We'll be doing round two of those interviews, and so we'll get a lot of Combine stuff to get into. But let's get into this game. The Aggies dropped the 99-84 game to Arkansas, a game that OB. I got a text from somebody who follows the team closely, and he was like, "It reminds me of Coach Elko's first year." Okay, and he says where they just didn't have the guys to get it done. On this roster, you see the building blocks but remember there wasn't the separation from wide receivers. There was other areas. And for this work of art to work, there's a couple other pieces that Bucky's going to need. That being said, this team gets after it. Their famous mother-in-law defense wasn't enough yesterday. The 16 turnovers, I think 13 in the first half, that pushed you behind the 8 ball on the road against a quality team like Arkansas. Very difficult to overcome those odds.
Look, they were an underdog, of course. Arkansas is really good, and they're big. They have size, and they're explosive. I think they had 30 fast break points last night. A&M had 13. They dominated the paint. I got those numbers right there. 52 points in the paint. A&M's 38. There's the game.
Yeah.
You still had some opportunities, but again, we think that A&M in a game like that against a team like that probably had at least a dozen 3-pointers. And they have 8.
Yeah.
You had we said a dozen, they had 4 more, and it's a really close game. But need to they're going to have to get bigger. Again, we all know that Bucky came in late and he was kind of behind the 8 ball, putting together this roster. And, these guys have far exceeded our expectations. Sure. And hey, what if they win their last 3, which are very winnable, and 2 of them are at home? Then they're 12-6 and in the SEC, and anyone would have signed up for that.
So a couple of notes that I wanted to make. First off, you're not going to win many games where the other team out second chance points you 18-4, okay? And also throw into that the turnovers we talked about. A&M's recipe is to obviously force turnovers and hit threes. Well, they hit threes. They didn't force as many turnovers, and they got just defeated there in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, they played a team that's better than them on the road in a really hostile environment. And Arkansas is a better team, better constructed, and A&M fought valiantly. I mean, I'll give them credit. With 10 minutes to go, it was, I think, a 5-point game.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas makes 13 of their last 15 shots. But I still think this is a team. I think another win's going to get them in the NCAA tournament. 2 wins would remove any doubt. And, I applaud them for being in the position they're in right now.
And interestingly, look, the game's never done early. We know that. But A&M got off to a great start, which is what they needed to do. Then Arkansas countered that with a big run of their own. A&M started the game up 11-2, and then I believe it was 16 unanswered points from Arkansas.
Yeah, and when you play a team like Arkansas, you've already kind of touched on it with the turnovers. You just gotta do what you do well. And the things you don't do well, you got to minimize that. Arkansas, how many times they get to the free throw line? I mean, they shot a really high percentage. A&M was okay at the free throw line. Arkansas was outstanding. Let me say, Arkansas shot 88%, made 29 of 33. A&M wasn't bad, but they were 69%.
Right.
So that's one of those things, to pull off an upset like that. Those numbers need to be flipped, and the turnovers, you got to take some down. And we talked about the 3-pointers. Look, they gave it a good run. Just they ran into a better team at home.
You and I think very similarly when it comes to basketball at the half. We look at little trends in the game. We're like, this looks good or this doesn't look good. Yesterday, if you look at it, Acuff only had, I have the notes here. I think he only had like 4 points at the half, right? So he had 4 points at the half, had not hit anything. They did a great job kind of containing him. And afterwards, he got off. He got crazy. So when A&M made that run to get it down to 4, and part of that second half, it was Acuff who was delivering the left and the right. So they did a really good job defensively on him until he started to get going.
Yeah, and he finished with 22. And going into that game, I guarantee you, without a doubt, Bucky McMillan would have said, hey, if we can hold him to 22, we're going to take that. The problem is Richmond goes for 23.
Yeah.
And these guys been averaging about 10. So
they got their offense somewhere.
But they're a very well-balanced basketball team. That's why they're in the top 20.
So tomorrow we'll have a lot of time, and I'm sure throughout the show as well, a lot of time to discuss maybe it is the biggest game of the season.
Against Texas?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be Texas.
First of all, it's Texas. Right now, that's your best win. Mm-hmm. And they're coming into your place, and you need another win to feel pretty good about your NCAA tournament aspirations. So, but it's Texas.
It's Texas.
Yeah. So, heck yeah, it's the biggest game of the year.
You get that game, you get your 10th win of the year, or in the SEC, I should say,
right.
And you feel much better. You feel really good. One more, I think you're in. Like you got 2 more from right now. But take care of business against Texas at home, the team you've already beat, and see what that does for the good vibes with the committee.
Yeah, and then you get Kentucky to come in, not a vintage Kentucky team, not a bad one by any means, but historically, A&M has had some really good success against Kentucky, especially at home, and then you close out with a road trip to LSU. So those are 3 winnable games left on your schedule, very winnable.
By the way, we didn't tell the people we're hanging out the Holistic Planning. It's actually not the real one. The Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
The Cool Zone travels. It's traveled all the way to Indianapolis.
The Aura, as the kids say.
Yeah, if we were outside, it'd be the Cold Zone.
Yeah, but it's the Cool Zone. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, there are multiple ways to do that. You can call us up on the
Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline.
Yeah, you can do that, 979-693-1150, or you can text us on the
Catalyst Pure Performance Energy. It's PPE. Text line.
979-693-1150. OB, we're here at the NFL Combine. What did you think of your first day of the NFL Combine?
Well, it was busy. When you have 5 A&M players at the podiums on the first day, and there's a ton of programs that's not going to have 5 players.
Yeah.
So just on the first day, you have 5 guys. So it was a busy day. It was let's call it an educational experience for me. I've never covered it before. To see how it operates was interesting. I've learned that you just make your way to the podium and
fight your way to the top. Right?
You be physical, like trying to get position for a rebound. You just get position, and then you just yell out your question.
As you know, I covered the NFL for years, and you think of the NFL, at least I do, as this like Goliath, right? Mm-hmm. And I got to give props to the SEC. Nick and I were talking yesterday. Like the SEC Media Days, that's a first-class operation. I'm almost a little bit more impressed with the way the SEC runs their show. I'm not saying the NFL doesn't do a great job, but maybe it's because that's the bubble we live in. You see a lot more people that kind of, get you going, like, oh, I got to get this interview, I got to get that interview. There was a lot of nerdy media here. That's all basically what I'm saying, a lot of nerdy media.
Well, who knows? I know I don't, but where the combine ranks in the NFL's list of priorities.
Yeah.
It may be a little bit further down, because the draft obviously is a bigger deal and something. But, I would know this today, and if I ever came back, I'm more equipped because I understand the way it's going to work.
Well, that means today's going to be a great day for you, buddy.
Well, I only have 2 guys to interview today.
That's true. All right, let's do this, and we'll talk about yesterday. We'll talk about today. We'll talk about the future. I'm sure we'll bring up basketball as we continue on through the program. Couple really good meals this week.
Probably better than they should be.
Yeah.
I probably enjoyed them more than I should.
But not like your meat cocktail, buddy.
No. The spaghetti last night was good, but I'm going to tell you, and I'm not just saying it. Had I had the option of spending $25 on a plate of spaghetti or that succulent brisket, or that amazing pork ribs, or the sumptuous jalapeno cheese sausage, and of course the greatest side dish known to man,
queso mac and cheese.
Yeah, I would have gone that direction.
Look, we're not overrating it. We're actually underrating it. The brisket sandwich is the best brisket sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Ditto.
Yeah. What you need to do is visit them. They're open Thursday through Saturday. It's $17.75.
It's Thursday.
Bro, we're so far, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, 1775txbbq.com is the website. Call them up, 979-492-6241. It is $17.75.
And it's good.
Hey guys, David Nuño here to talk about our new partners with EventPipe. They are a leader in hotel booking technology, and now they're giving you a chance to support Aggie student athletes every time that you travel. Thanks to their partnership with United and EventPipe, whether you're heading into a game, a business trip, or family vacation, every room that you book comes with cash back in the pockets of Aggie athletes. That's a wonderful deal. And with EventPipe, you'll get discounted hotel rates up to 20% lower than the major travel sites, while enjoying a fast, easy booking process. They've even created Presto, EventPipe's quick launch booking solution. It lets organizations build branded hotel sites powered by live hotel inventory, making it simple to book the perfect stay. So next time you want to book a trip, do it the smart way with EventPipe and support Texas Aggies NIL through United. Visit their website, tau.eventpipe.com.
And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations in Indianapolis and at the NFL Combine. Thanks to our friends at Snaps Clothing. I'm wearing Snaps right now. SnapsClothing.com helped us get here. Obi, let's continue to look back at yesterday's, then we'll look ahead at where we're going to be facing today. Actually, let's look ahead. Let's look at Will Lee. Let's advance the story, as they say in the media. Will Lee's going to be hitting the podium today. I think one of the blanket was so good for A&M. Now, he didn't get a lot of interceptions for A&M, but nobody did, right?
Right.
But people did not throw on him, and I'm curious what NFL scouts will think of that, the fact that if you're going to – and by the way, Des Ricks had a really nice year, but they seem to pick on that side of the field more than they did on Will Lee's side of the field.
Yeah, I thought so. I'm going to be very interested to ask Will Lee, hey, what are the NFL personnel telling you when they have these – when they have your interviews? They're going to tell you what they like about you. What are they saying that you need to work on? What are their concerns? Because, look, I don't have the expert eye that they're looking at. When I watch Will Lee play football, I think, hey, there's a good cornerback. I think of that play at the goal line against Notre Dame versus they had a chance to have I think it was a third down, and I think they're trying to run a slant from like the 5-yard line or closer, and he comes in there and he gets it, and makes the play, and breaks it up. Turns out that was huge. You held on 3 points instead of them getting 6. If they get 6, they win the game.
Right.
I know, and that was early in the game, but that's what I think of when Will Lee just plays like that, because and you know what, that play maybe is an indication of why opponents didn't throw it at his side that often.
Well, I want to go back to where the legend of Will Lee began, and it wasn't even something that A&M put into motion. It was Missouri, right, and drink. And do you remember the blanket that was sent to the hotel room of the wide receiver Theo Weiss? Was it?
Yeah, I think Theo Weiss was given credit. Who knows what coach came up with the idea? Sure.
Theo Weiss in that game actually wasn't as bad as I thought, but I believe he did nothing against Will Lee. 2 catches, 72 yards in that game.
He had a long touchdown catch late
in the game
when the play was breaking down, and Cook wasn't Cook was the quarterback. Was kind of scrambling to his right, trying to avoid pressure, and just heaved it. And one of the corners had basically given up on the play. Thought it wasn't, I
don't think it was Will on that play.
No, it wasn't.
Yep.
And so Weiss was behind, and I think he cut the A&M's lead to like 38-10. So it was an insignificant play. Yes, you're right. So Weiss really didn't have much of it. Yeah, he had a touchdown, but did he really have an impact on the game? No.
Yeah, and I think that's the game where I think we all like, okay, this Will Lee guy actually is the blanket. Like he had the nickname, but then the nickname took on a life of its own.
I think there was so much made about that the nickname the blanket, which was well known here and at Kansas State and at whatever junior college he had played at, which I think that's where he got it. And but it became more than regional then. It became, I don't know if it was national. I don't know if people in Washington, Oregon, and California knew, that's a blanket. But I think in the SEC especially,
people knew.
Oh, yeah, that's the blanket.
So 2 questions about that. Who replaces his production? And before you do that, we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday, but before that, I think we're going to agree here. The biggest question mark about the A&M secondary is...
Well, I don't know if we're going to be on the same page here.
Okay.
I still think it's a safety play.
Okay.
But you got to replace Will Lee at corner, and you got to replace Tariq Chappelle at nickel. But
agree with everything you just said. I was going to add to that.
Okay.
Force some turnovers. You got to get some interceptions.
Yeah. What did A&M have? 3 interceptions all of last year, and only 1 was by a defensive back. Yeah. That was Dalton Brooks against South Carolina. And it's funny because the year before, the previous year, A&M had about 10 interceptions. In interceptions, look, there's a certain amount of luck involved in it. Sure. We understand that. But
over a course of a season, you got to get more than 0 from your cornerbacks.
Right. Yeah. You do, and hopefully they will. You know, it's funny. I say it's about luck, but it's funny how certain those ball hawk type of guys always seem to come up with them. You know.
Yep. And then Ricky Gibson is the ideal candidate to replace Will Lee.
I think that's what everybody's expecting. You know, he's everything I've heard and read, and I got to admit, I don't remember him playing at Tennessee because A&M wasn't playing at Tennessee that year. Wasn't playing, and so there was not a whole lot of reason for me to pay attention to.
But
Tennessee.
he didn't play this past year, and Tennessee's defense certainly did take a dip.
They did, and but everything I've heard about him from Tennessee was this guy is an elite type cornerback. So. I think he is the guy that's going to replace Will.
Yep. The other guy that we're going to talk to today, one of my favorite stories on the A&M roster, Nate Borkacher.
Yeah, I think we all appreciate Nate Borkacher so much. Nate Borkacher is like me yesterday, walking down the hall to come here, and there's a $5 bill just laying in the hallway.
That really happened?
Yeah, really happened. In fact, I told Nick, I said, you know, I picked up the $5 bill, and then I said, you know what, that's not mine. So I put it back. Huh. And and then next time I went back, the $5 bill was still there. I said, okay, well now I'm going to take it.
That's a sign.
So you with him, you just say, okay, we're going to add him. I don't think we've talked about this before. I don't think like this time last year anybody was, oh yeah, man, Nate Borkacher, that guy's going to make a big difference on the team. And what you got a whole lot better than the $5 payment.
Yeah.
You got I think 3 touchdowns, including the one at the game winner at Notre Dame. Big touchdown catch against South Carolina in that comeback. And, you know, again, good blocking. He comes in, he's playing the fullback position at the goal line, scores a touchdown as a lead blocker. So I think you got a whole lot more out of Nate Borkacher than anyone expected. And by the way, would Nate Borkacher, and this is a question I'm going to have for him today, would he be here in Indianapolis had he not transferred to A&M?
Yeah, great question. He came in as a blocking tight end. He leaves as a versatile tight end.
Yeah, I don't know what Nebraska was thinking. I got to admit, I didn't look at their roster a lot either because I'm focused on A&M, but they must have had one hell of a tight end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it. A&M had that room had a lot of potential, and it was the blocking tight end that nobody knew how to pronounce his name that really emerged as the catalyst, if you will, PPE of the group.
Well, he gave some pure performance.
He did, didn't he?
With a lot of energy.
Lots of energy.
He was just, to me, was there a bigger surprise from the transfer class? I'm not saying that there weren't others, but to come in and like maybe we expected more from Tyler Onyedem.
Okay.
Than we, and we got it, right?
Okay. I would say
I'm not saying expected more than we got. Expected more from Onyedem than we got from Borkacher.
I think
than we did from Borkacher.
We got more from Nate Borkacher than anybody else from my expectations.
Right. That's what I'm getting.
And then my number 2.
Yeah.
And this may be controversial. Mario Craver. Not that I expected him to be really good. I did not expect him to be all-American-ish good. I thought he would be like, I thought he'd be a little bit more like Ashton Bethel-Roman became at the end of the year, right? Not the first part of the year, but the second half. That's when I kind of thought that Mario would take some time but he was elite from the beginning.
I did not expect him to be All-American. I knew he was going to be good. We talked about that.
Yeah.
We were watching him against A&M playing Mississippi State. And I was going, man, they got something. Mississippi State, they're not good, but they've got something to build with. And fortunately, they don't because he came here. I thought he'd be good, but I didn't think he'd be as good as he was.
So as we asked the question about Will Lee, who, takes over his progress, I think the ideal candidate is another transfer portal guy. And there's some young guys in that room as well, but Houston Thomas, a kid that you know a little bit.
Yeah, he and my son used to play pee-wee football and basketball together. Great kid, really respectful. I'd seen him back when I worked out at the gym I used to work at. I'd seen him coming in there, and he'd always come over and talk for a little bit, and just always working hard.
Yeah,
to prepare for the next season. And I was so glad he did so well at UTSA. And I can remember I might have been talking with you. It might have been Broniger, but we were saying before the UTSA game last year, okay, now this is kind of
You were telling me during the game.
Yeah,
I can see him in
guy's
maroon
gonna
and
be
white. Yeah,
at A&M next year. It just made too much sense because he's a good player.
yeah, he's an excellent player. What does Nate's development, just Nate and himself in 1 year, say about A&M as a program?
Well, again, I think it just goes to show that they not only kind of identify guys that can play, that maybe others are overlooking.
Yeah.
But then they can either develop them or get the most out of what they have.
Yeah, get the most out of it, unleash them.
I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. But again, Bocacher had about 9 catches in 4 years. He may have had 13. I don't know, but it wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot, yeah.
And he comes to A&M, and, what did he have about I can't remember. He might have had more catches at A&M. I know he had more touchdown catches.
I have this written down: 19 catches, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown.
I bet he had more catches in 1 year at A&M than he had his whole career at Nebraska.
All right. We'll hit a break. And part of the reason that Nate Bocacher was able to take that huge step, we believe, is somebody that we're going to start the next segment with. A great award was given to an A&M coach. We'll talk about that on the other side. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. The Rollo Insurance Group is going to be the insurance provider of the year. They're going to get the provider of the year when it comes to your insurance because they are the absolute best. They are super local, super Texas, right? 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but you can find them in College Station. That's where their headquarters are on Highway 6. Jason Rollo, Jackson Rollo, the whole team, Keith, Morgan, you name it. They are fantastic at what they do. They're going to find you the right insurance situation, be it car insurance, home insurance, ranch insurance, you name it. Let them find it for you. You'll get your agent's personal cell phone number. You'll be able to chit-chat with them about Aggie sports and everything in between and make sure that you and your family are covered. The difference is real. Check out Rollo Insurance at rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO.
All right, we're talking about Burlebo, the heart of Texas, more than an outdoor lifestyle brand. It's products created with you in mind. Currently, I'm wearing the performance polo, the Texas maroon and gray. If you look into it, you've got the state of Texas in gray, and you also got it in maroon. It's one of their highest, most popular sales that they have there. It is really nice. Comfort and versatility. You can wear it in any situation. Quick drying, fits the size. But Burlebo, they're rooted in tradition, fueled by passion for the outdoors. Designs high-quality apparel that works just as hard as you do. So whether you're hitting a workout, enjoying a day of fishing, or cheering on your favorite college team, their gear is made for the athlete, the outdoorsman, and the everyday adventure. And it's really nice. I wore this one to church the other day. People talked about it. Really, my kids were like, "Hey, Dad, you look pretty good today." From athletic shorts to your favorite go-to tees and performance hoodies, they have everything you want. Check out burlebo.com and find your new favorite gear. It's Burlebo for the athlete, for the outdoors, and for the family.
Welcome back, everybody. TexAgs live on the road in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, and this is still the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. So, I wouldn't say as expected, but I would have voted this way. Tommy Moffitt getting a big award. The Texas A&M Director of Football Strength and Conditioning, Tommy Moffitt, has been named the Inside the League, the ITL Power 4 Strength Coach of the year. The award now in his third year, recognizing the strength coach who did the most professional and helpful to NFL scouts and personnel across the country.
Did we expect anything less?
I didn't expect this award because I didn't know about it.
Well, I didn't know about it.
But yes, I would expect if they had an award, this would be the winner.
We celebrated when Tommy Moffitt came here.
Yep.
And I remember T-Bob Hebert, who played at LSU and trained under Moffitt, talking about what a difference he'll make at A&M, and he's made a difference.
He has made a difference.
I always say, if you'll look back, all you Aggies out there, you know I'm right. If you look back at A&M's most successful teams, they've had elite, and I mean elite, top of their field, strength and conditioning coaches, from Mike Clark to Larry Jackson to Schmitty, and now Tommy Moffitt.
Tommy Moffitt. It's interesting because in my career, I can't remember, and I've covered other programs. I've covered Baylor, I've covered University of Houston, I've covered Rice, I've covered the Aggies, obviously. I don't remember asking as often as I do about the strength coach. Like, he is a part of the fabric of the team, the culture. He is the one who gets them going. And I've always known that they are, Jordan Pugh, when I first got to TexAgs, reminded me that, like, hey, dude, it's the strength coach. That's the one who's going to spend the most time with them. Whoever the strength coach is can really help pave the way for the season. I knew that. We're seeing it happen.
Yeah, and that's why you see so many successful coaches take their strength and conditioning coaches with them when they go somewhere, which is what Brian Kelly did when he went to LSU from Notre Dame, and we thank Brian Kelly for that.
Yep, we do.
Because that's what made Tommy Moffitt available. But again, we know his story. He was the strength and conditioning coach for 3 national champions under 3 different head coaches at LSU. Yep. Think about that. What's the common denominator? You can say, yeah, he was the strength and conditioning coach on a national championship under Nick Saban, big deal. But he's also the strength and conditioning coach for a national championship under Les Miles and Ed Orgeron. Who should have been making the $10 million? Oh,
well, and oh, by the way, for a program that has underperformed, talking about our very own Texas A&M Aggies, the first year that he's here, they're an 11-win team. Right, they're in the playoffs. They did play significantly better in November. Not the last 2 games, but overall, it was. What did you used to say about O for November? Is that what you say? The O in November, or whatever.
A&M put the no in November.
There we go. So he deserves a lot of the credit. And as we're talking about development from Nate Borkature and Will Lee, Cassius Howell, another one. I believe it was you who asked him about his short arms.
Yeah, because it's all over the place.
Yeah,
that's the biggest
that's the big question
topic of conversation around surrounding.
So we've got some sound from him yesterday. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying our content. We're getting good quality time with these athletes. We're competing for some of that time with other media, but we are getting to ask our questions. Here's Cassius Howell on his short arms.
I know obviously, I have shorter arms, but, I feel like I'm made in the name, image, and likeness of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and, that's just the cards that I was dealt.
He talked about his faith quite a bit. He doesn't look at it as a deterrent. He's like, hey, this is what I have. I'm going to go get it done.
I like that. I said, hey, this is the way God made me. God ain't going to make a mistake. And I'm just going to go out there with all the gifts that I have and play hard and swoop in on those quarterbacks.
Now, I know NFL draft boards and mock drafts are going to change left and right. I saw this online yesterday. I didn't read the whole piece, but I saw that Mel Kiper right now doesn't have any Aggies in the first round. These things changed. There were 3 by Lance Zierlein not that long ago. Somebody else had 3 Aggies. I think it was John Harris who had 3 in the first round as well, as recent as yesterday. So it kind of just depends on who's talking about it. But I think Cassius Howell has the look of a first rounder.
He is a first-round talent. I don't know if he'll go in the first round, but he's a first-round talent. the same way we've talked about this before. Same way Christian Kirk was a first-round talent. Edge Cooper is a first-round talent. I bet you there's a lot of teams that wish they had taken Edge Cooper in the first round.
Right. Yep.
And Ed, if he doesn't go in the first round, it'll be kind of the same thing, I think, with Cassius Howell. Somebody will be saying, what were we thinking?
What were you thinking? Well, let's hear a little bit more from Cassius Howell on his transition from Bowling Green to A&M and now the NFL.
Definitely helped me. I'm extremely grateful and extremely blessed to have been able to go to such a school like that. From the strength staff, the overall position staff. I'm very blessed, and I feel like they definitely put me in the right position to be where I am today.
Well, I think he was very impressive yesterday.
Yep.
He had an answer for everything. He was very prepared.
Yep.
He's obviously a really smart guy. So I think when he's in the interviews with NFL personnel,
yep,
that I'm sure he's impressing them. And the tape don't lie.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was on a call with Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network, draft analyst. And he was saying that, a lot of people are thinking, well, the short arms thing, look at Miami. The game against Miami. They got the huge Markel Bell
yep,
and then Francis Moaga. I'm sure I'm saying the name wrong.
I think it's right.
But, they're supposed to be NFL caliber tackles. They're both here. And Howell didn't have a sack. He only had one tackle. And so people are looking at that. See, he can't. But then Jeremiah said, I went back and watched the game very closely. And there were no opportunities for sacks because Beck was getting the ball out so fast.
Exactly right. And by the way, I've probably said this to you before. I covered the year, several years that he did it, where J.J. Watt had like 20 sacks or 22 and a half sacks, whatever the number was. And I remember at one point the conversation was, J.J. doesn't have any sacks because they come in bunches. They don't happen every game. You'll have, 2 games without one, and then you'll have 3 in the next game. And did Cassius have a game where he had 3?
He had 2 games.
Yeah, and didn't he have a series where it went back to back to back?
Yep, Utah State, 3 in a row.
So that it's not just about sacks, right? It is about the pressure you put. And if a quarterback, and maybe it was Peyton Thorne a couple years ago, I hate bringing him up, but that got rid of the ball so quick that there were no opportunities for sacks, that's exactly what happened with Carson Beck.
Well, one of the things you saw with Myles Garrett, how long did it take him to finally – here's the best – pass rusher ever.
Yeah.
And how long did it take him to finally get that last? Because I think it was 3 games.
Yeah.
He needed 1 more. But the better you are, the harder it is because they start chipping, they start double teaming, sometimes triple teaming, getting rid of the ball fast because they know you're there. And yet he was still able. I think his greatest game was the LSU game.
Yeah.
Maybe someone would argue the Florida game as well because he only had 1 sack in that game, but he felt
his presence.
Yes, all the time. But the LSU game, he was dominant.
And yesterday we also got to talk to a couple of the defensive linemen, Albert Regis and Tyler Onyedim, at the exact same time. They were talking right next to each other at the same time, just like they would on the defensive line. It was good to see those two.
Yeah, and they're both such good interviews.
Yeah.
Albert, especially, he's kind of the cerebral guy and breaks down everything. And then Onyedim is just so honest. He was talking about how much coming to A&M was a factor in him being there because of the way he was used and things like that. So, both of those guys, I think they're both going to get drafted probably around 3rd or 4th, 5th round, somewhere in there. 3rd if they're lucky, But both of them I think really have the ability to make a team and do well. Albert was talking about his motivation being his family, his fiance and his daughter. Who needs greater motivation than that?
Right. You're exactly right about that. I asked him about, I followed up on that, and he's like, I'm here to bless others, not just my family. He made it a point to be like, I want to take care of my family, and obviously the NFL will give me an opportunity to do that, but I've been put on this earth to help others out. And I thought that was kind of not only a great answer, but one that I would love to hear from more athletes.
Yeah, he's just a different person.
Yeah.
He's a really good guy, as is Onyedim. You know what? I don't ever want to think I know somebody based on a series of 15-minute conversations, but I haven't really come across anybody on this A&M team that I thought, man, that guy's kind of a
punk.
A punk. That's a good word.
Yeah. Believe it or not, Chance McClain will do a story on a punk.
Yeah, he'd probably do a story on anybody.
He'll do it on anybody. Well,
make it sound great.
He is a little selective on his clientele. He wants you to love your family and love your history. I mean, I'm assuming he does. I mean, he always tells Aggie stories, and Aggies typically love their family, right?
Yeah. I'm not an Aggie, but I love mine.
You're an honorary.
I'm kind of honorary. Thank you.
Yeah. So
I appreciate it.
Chance McClain is a documentarian who tells family stories, and he can tell your story through Heritage Films. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. It's a 2-hour documentary done in the exact same way that you would see on a Netflix doc, on HBO, on A&E, wherever it may be. He tells your story from beginning to end. Hopefully no end. No end in sight. But and if you want to tell your dad's story, your grandfather's story, your mother's story, your family business story, your family ranch story, the origin, how you got the land, and who you're passing it on to, I think it is a wonderful idea and a bonding experience for your family. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341 is Heritage Films.
Hey friends, David Nuño here for Prize Picks. They're back on TexAgs, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. And Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Football season's here, basketball coming up, baseball, you name it. You go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and start having some fun watching sports, making some money on there. And you can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Remember, they'll give you $50 in lineups once you play $5 lineups on Prize Picks. And they have the new thing. It's called It's Good to Be Right campaign, and they're kicking off the upcoming NFL season with their bold new campaign, It's Good to Be Right. The seasonal long push celebrates the thrills of getting it right, from the perfect prediction to winning your Prize Picks lineups. Prize Picks is good to be right.
Final segment of the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. You're going to say something?
No.
Yeah, I think you were.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. It's TexAgs Live.
Brought to you by the Warehouse at CC Creations.
No, that would be the Go Hour.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
TexAgs Live is brought to you by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, and again, text messages at 979-693-1150. That is the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy text line. OB, I found Torian York to be, I'm trying to think about it.
Defiant?
Annoyed's not the right word, but I think he enjoys being doubted. And when I say doubted, like, he wants to be, I mean, as he should, be talked about as one of the top 2-3 linebackers. And the fact that he is not one of the top 2-3 linebackers in these mock drafts, I think he came into the media session yesterday, I don't know if annoyed is the right word, but ready
irritated.
to prove.
He was irritated. He's so tired of people asking him and talking about his height.
Yeah.
And he's saying, hey, look at the tape. You know, when I came out of Temple High School, people were saying, you can't play in the SEC.
Right.
You're not big enough. And he goes out and he's a starter from day one as a freshman. His first year is his starter. His second year is captain. His third year, he's all SEC.
Yep.
And he's saying, now I'm in the same situation. I'm coming in. People say, oh, well, we don't know that you can play because you're 5'10". He's like, well, I've heard this before. Let's put on the pads and let's get out there and let's see.
Let's get it on. Yeah. And I almost like that approach. So we'll see how it translates. Whatever it takes for you to get to that level, and he's going to have to perform this week, right? He's going to have to show that he's got all the measurables that they're looking for, regardless of what people say about Cassius Howell's arms or what they say about Torian's height and weight. It's about the production, and he's going to have to go prove it this week.
Yep. You know, they always analyze and scrutinize, right? And they make even the top prospects, they find reasons to make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, self-conscious, like, wait, what? This is bad about me? This is bad about me? And so that's not really that surprising that there's always something. Oh, this is the downside of this guy. You remember back in the day, the Carolina Panthers had a middle linebacker named Sam Mills who was like 5'8".
Of course, yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he's considered one of the best players in that franchise history. If you can play, it really doesn't matter your size.
I agree.
Ultimately, can you go out there and play? And if he goes out there and plays, look, you can't go out there and run a 5.5 40, right? So if he goes out there and shows, look, I've got maybe I don't have the height, but I've got the skills, and give me a shot, and then goes out and plays like he did at A&M, then he's going to make some money.
Yeah. Let's listen to Torian, because I did ask him about the fact that he is being doubted again at this point in his life.
Still doubting me now, man. They still feel like I can't do it. It just makes me mad. Not mad, but just turn me up a little bit, because I feel like it's been a long time since I have been doubted. I pretty much put those rumors or doubts to rest when I first stepped on campus at A&M, but now we're going through the process again. It feels like high school recruiting all over again, honestly.
I think he's going to get an opportunity, he'll be.
The thing about Torian is, and I wrote about this a little bit yesterday, but Torian studies so much that he understands not only what he's called to do in his defensive alignment, but what his opponents are probably trying to do. And he has a knack for being in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
And he says he's still in the right place at the right time being here. But if he gets a chance and he can do all those things and shows that he can be in the right place at the right time, understand where to be. Dat Win wasn't the biggest guy.
Right.
And no one's questioning him. Now, I'm not saying that Torian is as good as Sam Mills or Dat Win. I'm saying that there's some guys that were maybe didn't fit the prototype.
They heard
that
similar
were really
chatter.
good football players.
Yep, you're exactly right. You know what I found interesting yesterday is I feel like every prospect that I listened to, Torian, Scooby, a lot of these guys, I'm trying to think, Cassius might have been one of them. They all mentioned the Cowboys as interviews. A lot of the Cowboys are interviewing a lot of Aggies.
No, it's about time.
You've been asking for it.
Because they fumbled the ball. Well, I feel like they feel good about what they've gotten out of Donovan Wilson as a seventh round pick. But it was hitting my head against the wall over the last several years to watch Christian get away, Edge Cooper get away, Devon A-Chain get away. It's just very, very frustrating.
Yeah, but I talked to Scooby yesterday. Scooby's an interesting case because to me, he's got the ability, he's got the size, he's got the personality. He's just, at least at his time at A&M, I can't speak for his time at Florida, but his time at A&M, it's just we haven't been able to see the full Scooby.
Yeah, because he's been in and out of the lineup with injuries. He had the knee injury 2 years ago, tweaked it. Last year against Notre Dame was in and out.
The ankle injury, yeah.
He's just had those kind of issues that have kept out of the lineup. And when he's played, he's typically been productive. He talked about that he learned so much more at A&M than at Florida, and so he does have or he did develop more of the ability to read plays. He said, as a linebacker, he said it's probably the only position on the field where you don't know where your first step is. So you got to really study and understand that. And he thanked his coaches and teammates. I'm sure he was thinking about Torian, about helping develop that.
Well, I know he had a great relationship with Jay Bateman. Jay Bateman is now at Kentucky. Something I hadn't thought about until I brought this up. I wonder what kind of advantage when A&M plays Kentucky does that give Coach Bateman and the Wildcats because he knows this team so intimately?
Yeah, maybe some, but he doesn't know like Ray Coney.
Yeah,
and he doesn't know Rick Gibson.
That's true.
So there's going to be certain things that he doesn't know, and
A&M will know the way he coaches.
Plus,
right?
and you can always throw in something that do a little razzle dazzle that he's not expecting. So
all right, one more soundbite here from yesterday. Here's Scooby on having to deal with injuries while at his time at A&M.
I can't lie, it was a little frustrating, but like I said earlier, it helped me be a better teammate. I had to learn how to support my teammates off the field, being there, not being a cancer to the program. But ultimately, I just learned about myself.
Yeah, hopefully the NFL gets the healthy version of Scooby.
Yeah, I hope so. I would like to see what the healthy version of Scooby looks like in the long term. It's funny though, he got hurt. That's not funny. He
got hurt celebrating.
That's what I mean. He just made a huge play with the interception against Notre Dame. Now, the silver lining?
Damian Sanford?
Was Damian Sanford coming
I was going to say, I don't think he would have gotten that opportunity, and we'd have a much bigger question mark heading into this year after losing Scooby and Torian if you didn't see the emergence of Damian Sanford. And also, I think Jordan Lockhart played very well when he was out there.
And I expect Damian Sanford to be a much better version of himself in 2026 than he was in 2025, just because that's the natural progression. I always point back to guys like Tyrell Dodson.
Yep.
They were better in their second year as a starter. Edge Cooper, much better in his second year as a starter. It's a natural progression. So that's the, what do they call it? The blessing in disguise.
Yep. So what will this do for a couple of names I'm going to throw out at you? Second official year, right? Marcel, basically his second official year, right? He did start the last part.
Yeah, it's a lot different when you go into a season knowing you're the starter.
And Reuben Owens, who didn't go into the season as the guy at running back, but became the guy because of injury.
Yeah, and was he ever at 100% this year too?
Right.
Maybe, but look, I want to see Reuben be consistently the Reuben we saw in the second half against Missouri. And he has it in him. I think he needs to work on getting a little bit stronger, and I'm sure that renowned strength and conditioning coach is going to work on with that.
Yep.
To break a few more tackles. And I've said it over and over. I would predict you'll see significant improvement from Marcel Reed in decision making, especially in the red zone, because again, it's just part of the progression of getting better.
Yeah, and the Holman-Wiggins angle. Look, I don't know what kind of offensive coordinator he's going to be. I don't. None of us do. But I do know he's got a lot of support in that locker room. I do know that there's something about, there's certain people you just think they have an it factor to them, and you can't really put your finger on it. My encounters with Holman-Wiggins, he just seems to be cool, calm, and collect, the three C's.
Yeah, and I was always impressed at watching him coach and how detail-oriented. Now, I have to believe I'm going to see more deep passes.
Yep.
Because he's a receivers coach. And so he was a receiver. And what does receivers want? They want the ball.
They want deep balls,
They want to go deep for it. So maybe we'll see even a more explosive offense next year.
Remember last year in the beginning, and I don't think this was as big of a problem as the season went on, but early, you remember how many times Marcel almost had a deep throw that he overthrew or he missed guys. I mean, all quarterbacks miss guys. He missed guys at the end, but it seemed like one of these days he's going to connect. And then he did start to connect on some of the big ones.
Florida. Remember was it the first or second play of the game for A&M?
Yep.
About a 60-yard shot to Mario Craver. And you know what? That's an example of, hey, he worked on it and he got better at it as the year went on. And I think when Marcel realizes, okay, this is what I have to get better at, he works hard at it and he improves. And that's why I think he'll be better in the red zone next year.
I think he'll be better in the red zone. I was talking to somebody yesterday, forget who it was, and they were telling me, dude, watch out for Horton on this offense, because Horton in this offense is what this team was missing last year. Mm-hmm. And we started talking about if Noah Thomas would have stayed, potentially what it could have been. But they said that, when you have a guy like Horton at the X, it just opens up everything else.
Yeah, that was the one thing that they didn't have was the big receiver. Jerome Miles got hurt. That's a true freshman. You didn't want to expect too much from him, but that would have been the big guy on the outside. So, that addition, he was a productive player at Alabama. He was a productive player at Miami.
Right.
Why would he? I would assume he'll be a very productive player at Texas A&M.
Yeah. OB, we've got a busy day ahead of us. We've got Will Lee. We've got Nate Borkacher. And then today we get to watch some of the guys we just talked about on the field do some skills and drills.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm curious overall throughout the entire NFL, all the kids that are at the combine, you see a lot more people not doing the activities that we used to watch.
Yeah, and they're advised by agents and things like that, and sometimes they know that they're going to be high draft picks, so that they don't want to do anything poorly to jeopardize that. But I still look forward to seeing the guys perform and seeing what they. Yeah, but I have to admit I'm going to miss the thing that I think I'm going to miss it. That I like the most is the reps on the bench the bench reps. Yeah.
How many times can you do 225
now?
Right now,
none.
Machine
with my shoulder, I can't do anything. Now, back in the day, I'd work out on it.
Right.
Now, I couldn't do what they do.
No.
I might have done 8, but
that's pretty strong, buddy.
Well, back in the day.
All right, let's drop it here. We're gonna pass off the baton for the remainder of the show.
Workout.
I think Michael Earley and Richard Zane coming up soon. You are listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Our coverage from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis will continue on TexAgs.com.
Welcome into the Rollo Insurance Studio. Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. This is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers, and we're joined now by the head baseball coach at Texas A&M, and a pretty big weekend ahead, Coach Earley. But right now, sitting at 8-0 after a 25-5 victory over Lamar. How you doing? Good morning.
Doing good. How are you?
Can't complain. Just trying to keep up the energy, keep up the vibes.
It's a little dead around here without David. Took me a while to get in the building. I don't know, man.
They all ditched. They're all up in your home state, hanging out in downtown Indianapolis.
I thought they went to St. Elmo's.
Yeah, I know they were trying to get a reservation, try to get a shrimp cocktail.
Just have them send the bill to Billy.
Excellent.
We'll take care of it.
I guess this kind of lends itself to my first question. Do you have any tips, message to David's depth, as you've had a pretty good success keeping your depth pieces ready to go when their number's called upon?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's got you right behind him, so it's a good start. And other than that, I mean, David's a star, so I know it's hard to follow up, but I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Talk about a great job Tuesday night, 25-5. 14 walks, 18 hits, 12 of those hits come with men on base. Just your takeaways and your thoughts on another really good offensive performance for your club.
Yeah, they did, a really elite job controlling the strike zone, which is, 14 walks, 18 hits. I think walking 14 times is honestly harder to do and more impressive. And you'd take 18 hits and no walks any day. But they just did a really nice job, 1 through 9. I think we only had one inning where I thought it was kind of gave some at-bats away. But those games are tough. And any game's tough when it gets out of hand either way to just stay locked in. Like you don't just come up to the plate, now you're just swinging, whatever. Like you play one way. And they did that like really consistently for a whole game and, pitched it well and played good defense, and it was an overall good game.
Another piece of that game I like was the response in the bottom of the 4th inning, right after you give up 3 runs to Lamar in the top half, you come back and respond with 12. What does it say about your ball club that they're able to deliver an obvious response when they've been challenged by you and the other coaches to respond in different ways throughout the year already?
Yeah. It's just you just continue on doing what you're doing. You don't. Whenever you want to respond, the worst thing you do is try to. You just continue to have good at-bats, have good production, and that's all you can do. I mean, you can be ready to go that inning and line out 3 times at 105. but they, again, just plate discipline, controlling the strike zone, putting a good swing on it when they got a strike. And, the idea of swinging at strikes and taking balls, like a big part of that is swinging at the strike too. And the right one, right? Like there was a couple early on some counts that were kind of painted on the corner, and they I don't want that one. They kind of waited till the guy brought over the middle of the plate, and they did damage when they swung.
Talk about plate discipline, and from a coaching perspective, we kind of saw them fall out of that consistent approach. How nice is it to see them to get back to it consistently and then controlling the strike zone in perhaps the best way they've done all year on Tuesday?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, they it's anytime these guys make mistakes or whatever, I think the biggest thing is it's just hard. What they're doing is extremely difficult, and it's really day to day as a hitter. Like you might feel great on a Tuesday and you feel terrible on Wednesday. It's just the nature of the game. And then when you add the pressure factor and you start pressing, you just kind of lose your mind at times. And sometimes when you do it with more than one guy at the lineup, that's when you have holes. But they've done a great job. They've done a great job all year, and that's what we expect out of them.
It's hard to highlight one guy when you score 25 runs, but Caden Sorrell hits a pair of homers, drives in 6. How nice is it to know that the hand is all right, and he is more than all right after a couple of games off?
Yeah, no, it was good. I thought his at-bats were good. And again, one thing, I was more concerned about his at-bats the last couple of games over his hand and just getting him back in there. And, when you're as good as him, right, like there's no hiding it. Like he's not sneaking up on anyone anymore. He's got to really control the zone, because when it's in the zone, he seems to hit it really well. So we got to make sure he, tightens his circle and gets balls where he wants to hit them and doesn't rush his at-bats, but at the same time, not lose your aggressiveness. And I think he can do that. I think he did that last season, good enough. And I just think he had a couple games where he didn't. And last game I thought was awesome.
It was really awesome to see him back in the lineup, obviously, but seeing his return lends itself to the status of two other guys that haven't played in a couple days, Chris Acopia and Wesley Jordan. What's the latest you can say about their status? I know I keep doing that to you, but I know it is on the minds of a lot of people.
You got a knack to ask the question. I mean, look, we're getting better. I don't want to keep. He did a little bit of practice yesterday. He took ground balls. He was in the cage doing well. Wesley hit on the field, ran a little bit. I mean, we're trending in the right direction. But I'm just kind of still in the same. Sure. I could see it happening any day, but we just got to continue to get better. But no secrets, no nothing like that. I mean, hit a little bit yesterday, took ground balls for the first time and ran, so it was good.
Yeah, sorry for the selfish question.
No, you're good.
Back to the depth, though. Them being out and also the game itself lended itself. 21 different guys getting in the game on Tuesday. At least early on, how nice is it to get those guys opportunities? And is it almost like winning while you win to allow those guys to get their feet wet?
Yeah, it's you want to get experience. I don't want to say experience, but you want to stay in the flow of the game. And there's no price on at-bats, right? So getting those guys in there and just getting in the game is huge. There's nothing that can replicate the game, and you just never know when your time's going to come to play. So just being able to get guys, that's really tough on you're trying to look at what to do, where to move guys. Do you want to keep this guy in and keep him, feeling well, or do you want to get this guy in to get ready? So they did a nice job coming in there and being ready to go. So I love to get everyone in the game just because it just helps. It helps the overall vibe of your ball club and helps them, when you need them to play.
Speaking of staying ready to go, Sawyer Farr, I mean, it was fantastic over the weekend, but then continued that forward this week against Lamar. How has he been able to stay locked in, stay ready to go, and how nice has it been to see him perform when he got his opportunity?
Oh, it's great. Sawyer's a great kid. I mean, number one, and a really good baseball player, and he's continued to stay, do what he's supposed to do to be ready to go. We've done a little bit different things with some guys that hadn't been in there, just some more high-speed machine work stuff before games. Like Friday, those guys kind of had their own little practice before the game. Guys hadn't been there just to keep their eyes fast, because the fall and the beginning of the spring are different. We have so many different practice days, but when we have Monday off, you play on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then if you don't play, we're going just 2 days of really hard live reps. So we just try to sprinkle that in, and Sawyer's always doing extra work, and and staying ready to go. There's no doubt in my mind he'd be ready to play, and then he performed, which was great.
Who are the other guys that perhaps we don't talk enough about that have really impressed you through 8 games?
Wes Jordan, I feel like is kind of snuck up on some people, not really us, but he's done a really good job. Juan Vargas, just kind of quietly, really, really done his job and playing well. And I think Bear's close with the swing, and he's caught really well. And I think a thing about a catcher, it's kind of like maybe an umpire, like when you don't notice them,
sure,
they're really good. He's done a good job. He's kind of in a really unique situation. I think he's hitting 133 with a 488 on base. So he's still competing and getting on. I don't think Bear wants to hit 133, and he won't, but 488, I think last game his average went down, but the on base went up. So the swing is coming, but I think what he's doing right now is, while he's not getting hits, he's almost getting on base half the time he's at the plate. So Bear, I think Bear's in a really good spot, had a really good practice yesterday.
It's like he's a ball magnet, too. I don't remember a guy getting hit by as many pitches as Bear Harrison has through 8 games.
No, I think the thing about people are like, how do you, the thing about getting hit by a pitch, it's real simple. Like, just don't get out of the way. You can't lean over any, like when I was in college, like you're trying to like,
Craig B.
You get a curveball and it's 0-2 and you don't want to strike out. You just stick it over there and you get hit and it was fine. But, and I think you've seen that out of a lot of our guys. Like, if it's at your head, like, it's fine, get out of the way. But, if you can take a breaking ball or something like that off the leg or the arm, it's only going to hurt for a minute. I promise you it doesn't hurt as much as getting out. So trot down to first, and they've done a good job with that so far.
Michael Earley's with us here in the Rollo Insurance Studio as Texas A&M heads up to Arlington this weekend. Aggie Bank College Baseball Series at Globe Life Field. You've been to that ballpark before, but you've also got an experience of being a head coach at one of these showcase tournaments in a big league ballpark. What did you learn from last year's trip down to Houston that you're applying this time around as you head north rather than down to the Bayou City?
Yeah, it's just you gotta really embrace how different it is. I personally love it, and I think as a player, we're so routine, like at home, and when we got our early hitting, we got our early ground balls, we got all of this, and this is not that at all, right? You practice on Thursday, which is one of my favorite things to do, travel. Like, I love Thursday practice and going out to eat with the coaches after. But anyway, you show up Friday and, like, you don't know really when you're going to play.
Sure.
And you just hit in the cage, you stretch, you throw, you don't take infield, outfield, and you just play ball. And all these kids have done that their entire life in the summer. I think sometimes as soon as you put them in an environment that's not that, they forget that they did. But I think our guys will be ready to go. I think we got that type of group that it's kind of like, it's kind of like pick up basketball, pick up baseball. You just kind of roll them in from getting ready standpoint. Sure. So that's the biggest difference. I think when you make a thing, it becomes a thing. And we're not going to. We're just going to stretch it out, hit a little bit in the cage, get our arms loose, and play baseball.
I know you said you don't know when you play it, but I truly do hope you play at 7, 7, and 6:30.
It doesn't usually work out like that.
It never works out that way.
I like that we're playing at night, though, being, playing there and with our fan base. And
oh, yeah.
I don't care when I like those late games. I don't mind we'll be good.
A little Sunday night baseball action, too. That's pretty unique.
We get John Miller on there. It'd be even better.
That'd be really awesome. Yeah. Him and, the names is Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan, those two guys, fantastic.
My childhood.
Dan Schulman was a little bit more Sunday night baseball in my childhood, who's fantastic as well. But you mentioned rolling out there and just playing from a preparation standpoint. When it comes to scouting, I know some coaches in these 3 teams, 3 different days, they might not pick up the scouting report, not look too much at video until the one game's over. How do you go about it? How have you and your staff attacked this weekend?
And don't mistake my roll the balls out and play as we're just, not going to be prepared. We'll be prepared. For me, personally, I think everyone might do a little differently, but I'm looked at a little bit of UCLA's starter, but just Virginia Tech for me. And since we play so late, I'll check them out. I'll have all day in the morning just to prepare from that. And all the other coaches do it differently. Just get it done when you get it done and be ready to go. It's like for me, if I were to prepare for 3 different pitching staffs this week, there's no way I would be as sharp Now, when you actually do some of it like the day before, day of, it's with our video system, it's so great. Like, I'm not just sitting there and like watching a broadcast game. Like, it is like button, 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 button. Plus with the analytics, it really tells you, I mean, I can read the numbers, or they just spit it out to me on what the shape of the fastball is, if there's a distinct location, obviously what the velocities are, what's the main off-speed pitch, is he 55% heater, 32% sweeper, got all that information. Now, years ago, it was just a lot longer process, and it just, technology's gotten so good, it really speeds up the process of how you can do the scouting reports.
Let's talk about the field and the 3 teams you're going to see this weekend. Virginia Tech Friday night, the nation's #1 team, UCLA, on Saturday, and then a program you're familiar with, Arizona State, to wrap it up on Sunday. Beginning with the Hokies, their only loss was a Friday night loss, and they lost 16-1 last week to Rutgers. What have you seen from Virginia Tech in your early preparation?
I think they got some really talented arms. Like, the guy we're going to see is really good. He's going to be 95, 96. Good breaking ball. The guy they bring in after him, same deal. A couple good lefties out of the pen. I mean, they're a good baseball team. I think they're really well coached. From a standpoint of how we'll match up against them, look, I think all these teams are good, and I think they're really good. And everyone, the competition ramps up. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to be for us all year, and it's just a way to start it. But I think they're a good club, and, I think they got some real toughness to them.
And then, at least from my point of view, it might be a little difficult not to overlook the Hokies and ahead to Saturday, because you're going to see the nation's #1, UCLA. They've got the potential first overall pick in the upcoming draft. They've also got a guy who Aggies are familiar with, the infamous Will Gasparino, who's off to a hot start. The Bruins, how difficult of a challenge is that going to be? And I know you haven't dove, words are hard, into John Savage's club too much just yet, but what do you see from them, at least in the early going?
Well, I think just with my experience in playing against them when I was in the Pac-12, UCLA has always been a team, and I think they're like that. This now is like they don't beat themselves, and they got talented players. They're not just like, no, they got some good guys. They got some really good core, and always have these really good core baseball players and a few superstars. And they throw strikes, and they're fundamental, and they do not beat themselves. That is why they're good. And they're consistent. They're really well coached. Obviously, they got a star at shortstop, and they got some other dudes that are really good, but they play fundamental baseball, and they don't make mistakes, which is fine. We're going to play like that too, and then you let the game decide it.
Then Arizona State on Sunday. That matchup, considering you spent time with the Sun Devils, what does that mean to you, and what it'll be to face off against your old program again?
Yeah, not much, to be honest with you. I mean, there's not a kid on that team anymore that I coached or recruited, and I still got some friends over there. I'm real good friends with their SID. Yeah, I mean, I want to win just like any other game, so there's no extra. Yeah, every game to me is like the rivalry game. You know what I mean? Tuesday was, so I don't have any extra motivation. Just it's all the same.
Is there any additional motivation considering the last time you guys saw them up in Globe Life in 24 and the theatrics, dramatics that went down when they maybe hit Braden Montgomery a couple of times?
Yeah, you never forget things, but I mean, no, we're not gonna retaliate 2 years later and hit any other guys on purpose. We want to keep our strike percentage really, really good.
And 3 passes, you've been limiting those. Like,
that was definitely uncalled for, but it's way in the past. Braden did pretty good that weekend.
Yes, he did. The ball that he hit on the concourse of second deck is still like in my mind. Like,
probably should have hit him so he didn't get a hit. So.
I got you. Just last thing, we'll let you get out of here. What do you need to see overall from your club as you face your first uptick in competition this year?
Just play good baseball. I mean, play good, clean, fundamental baseball, and do not beat yourself with little mistakes. Like, period. I like our talent level. I think we have great talent. We have a really talented team. Talent is not enough. Like, let's just play clean, fundamental baseball. Throw strikes, pick it up, throw it to first, catch it when it's hit to you. Guys on third, do whatever it takes to score the guy. If we ask you to get a bunt down, get the bunt down. Nothing more than that. Just do your job, be locked in, play pitch to pitch. You look up at the end of the 9 innings, maybe you go more, or it's over, and you did everything you can do. I think if this team can do that on a consistent basis, we're going to be really, really good. Now, baseball can get you in ways you could play great fundamental baseball. The other team doesn't play well at all and they can still win. That's fine. You know, you don't want to be a bad poker player, right? Just be consistent in what we do. And at the, through this weekend, throughout the course of the year, we're going to have a really good season.
Coach, thanks so much for taking some time for us this morning, and safe travels up to the Metroplex later today.
Thank you, sir.
He's Texas A&M baseball coach Michael Earley. The Aggies are headed to Arlington. AMG College Baseball Series, the Amagi College Baseball Series this weekend against Virginia Tech, UCLA, and Arizona State. We'll have coverage of that from Arlington for our TexAgs Premium subscribers. As we take a break here on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers, Kay Nagley's going to be taking over in the host chair for me for a little bit.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Garner's Jewelers. I'm inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. I am not David Nuño, nor am I Richard Zane. Kay Nagley with you now, filling in for the C team, D team. I don't even know what we are at this point, but we are going to send you back to Indianapolis for David Nuño's chat with NFL Network reporter Cam Wolfe. He once interned for Nuño, and now he covers the league in South Florida. So let's bring you that.
Here with my guy Cam Wolfe. I always start off our interviews like this, but I knew him back in the day when he was just an intern for me back in the day. Now at the NFL Network. How you been, bud?
I'm good, man. Great to see you.
Yeah.
You know, you prevented me from going over the deep end when I was a youngster, and so always great to share time with you, man.
So 13 Aggies here for us. It's a huge deal. You cover the league typically from a South Florida perspective, correct?
Yes.
Do you pay attention to what's going on in college as well?
A little bit, but I play a lot of catch up this time of year.
Yeah,
so like I'm full speed every week at a game through the Super Bowl, and then I spend like a week or two where I reset, and then the week before the combine is usually where I'm starting to dive in. So I haven't caught up yet on watching tape, what these guys do. But what's good for me for the combine, I can talk to people who have been doing it for 3 or 4 months, you know, general managers, scouts, and they can kind of give me a head start of like, hey, watch this guy. This is where the position. So it maybe cuts down some of my time. I can cheat a little bit. I don't have to watch 300 guys. Maybe I watch 13 guys, that I really want to key in on.
So being stationed in South Florida, you probably got a little bit of a view of the Hurricanes who A&M lost to. When you looked at all that talent from both teams' perspective, a lot of NFL dudes on the field, did you have an inkling of what was happening with the Hurricanes?
Yeah, I did. I lived there, so I knew their talent had been building. I was at their pro day, Miami's pro day the year before when Cam Ward was there. And we were all there for Cam, and he did great. But I remember talking to Mario Cristobal, and he told me, you're going to be back here next year for my linemen on both sides of the ball. And that was really what stood out about their team this year. You know, the 2 defensive ends with Bain and Mesidor, and then Francis on the other side. They were really good up front. And we saw that against the A&M game. You know, when you win the trenches, it helps you, even when you don't have great quarterback play. And it seemed like Miami with Carson Beck, it was up and down. You know, Carson gave A&M a couple chances in that game, but their trenches is where they took over. But I think this draft in particular is going to be about the D-line, and you talked about A&M and Cassius Howell. Like, he's going to be a player in this league.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I understand when people are questioning his short arms. I understand that. But to me, like, I think we've gotten to a point in the NFL, it's about production. And no matter if you're a tall guy, a small guy, can you get after the quarterback? Can you throw the football? And these are things that we're seeing now. I think that back in the day when I was a kid, a general manager wouldn't take a chance like they would now.
Absolutely. Hey, you know who doesn't care about his short arms? Quarterbacks when they're running away from him. I don't get caught up too much in that. Maybe it hurts or helps stock based on arm length because you're maybe not the ideal, but it's a league of exceptions that really stand out. Like, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. Another A&M guy, Devon Achane, is an outlier in size. He would be normally considered a small back. You watch him play, he doesn't play small, and that's why he's become one of the best backs in football. Same thing for Howell. His arms may be short on paper. He doesn't play like a guy who's dinosaur arms or whatever the joke people want to say there. And to me, that's what stands out. If I can get a guy that can impact my quarterback, I don't need to measure his arms to figure out if he can play.
Well, like I've known you a long time. I've known Devon since his high school days. I know him as Devon Achane. I know he goes by Achane now. But just talk about his growth, because he came into the league as a guy like, you know, he could make some big plays for you, and now that's all he does is make big plays for you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him was proving that he could be a full load 3-down back. I think when he came out of college, there was questions, is he just going to be a part-time player? Is he going to get 10 or 12 touches a game? It's kind of like a 3rd-down back. He's shut all of that up. You can get him the ball 25, 30 times, and he's got really good contact balance so that when he gets hit, he's never getting hit full steam ahead where you think he's getting destroyed. He finds avenues. He has really good vision and angles. And I think the biggest thing this past year was his development in the passing game. I remember talking to him in the offseason, and he said, I want to be an elite pass-catching back. That's the big thing I worked on, my route running, my hands. And we saw that on the field to where even if teams were stuffing the run game, you could still see him put 100 receiving yards up and impact the game that way. And so this current era, the running back to dual threat guys, those guys who can catch the ball are the ones who separate.
So last thing for you, for what you do, when you're researching these teams and whatnot, how much does the program help the way you research, because you know a dog's coming from Georgia. You know Alabama. Hopefully A&M starts to get into that realm where they're sending 10, 11 guys every year.
Yeah, teams always say you don't scout the helmet, but come on, we're human. You know, it means a little bit more if you're seeing a guy with the A&M helmet versus the Appalachian State helmet. You know, you just know that the competition.
Why'd you have to bring up Appalachian State, man? Why'd you have to bring that still hurts.
I know, right? but the reason is because you know the talent that they're recruiting. You're recruiting 4- and 5-star guys, and you're competing in the SEC. You're competing against dogs, and so you're always trying to make the transition from college to NFL. What does that look like? A lot easier when you play a team, when you're coming from a team from the SEC, when you're coming from an A&M. And so I think that's the biggest advantage. If it's equal, you go with the bigger school player, and even if it's not equal, you're going to give him that advantage that, hey, year one, he's going to be able to play with these bigger dudes compared to the smaller schools.
I lied. I got one more for you.
Yep.
All right, Indiana. Such a cool story. Fernando Mendoza will be here soon. Just when you think, you don't have to be a college football person to really appreciate what Cignetti did with Indiana.
Yeah. It's so cool because we know the legacy programs, the programs every year you expect. Indiana's never been mentioned that. In fact, they've been more jokes than high stock. And so to see the joy of a fan base who maybe never thought they would be a football champion, maybe definitely basketball, never football, and to get to that point, to see a coach and doing it his way. You know, you can say whatever you want about Cignetti. He's going to do it his way. He's got a firm way of going about it, and it's worked. And he was able to get the right quarterback at the right time, get the right system, and they did it with 3-star guys. And in an era where NIL and it's all about buying the best roster, you saw what team building, what culture building can really do for a program.
Can't appreciate you, buddy.
Absolutely.
So proud of your success,
David.
man.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you to David Nuño and Cam Wolfe for that interview in Indianapolis. I just got word that more exciting interviews could be coming your way, either on TexAgs.com or even on the show if we get it quick enough. But we're going to hit a break. On the other side, we'll talk to Fox Sports Radio host Aaron Torres. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. I'm inside the Rollo Insurance Studio, and we are going to head to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, where we will find Fox Sports radio host Aaron Torres. AT, I am not David Nuño, and I am not Richard Zane, who was here earlier. It's Kay Nagley with you. How are you doing this morning?
Well, first of all, thank goodness you're not David Nuño, because one of those is way more than enough. Let me tell you that. But yeah, no, I know Nuño is in Indy, trying to, he's, just being a journalist, getting interviews and stuff. So it's a pleasure to speak with you. And I hope Nuño's doing what he needs to do in Indy with Olin. And excited to chat with you guys today.
Oh, yeah. The boys are doing great work up there already, even though we probably don't give them enough credit, but they are. Let's talk some hoops.
I won't tell them you said that. I'll make sure to still give them a hard time next week.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So let's talk some hoops. Last night, it was kind of a disappointing night for Texas A&M, as they don't have that signature win in conference play. Just your takeaways from the loss at Arkansas.
Well, Arkansas is a very good team, and I know that it's a win that A&M wanted to have. We all get it, and we all know that it's getting late in the season. And to your point, Kate, they obviously need to start winning significant games. But it's funny, I'm not a huge analytics guy. I think anybody who's kind of heard me on this show knows that I'm not somebody that throws out a bunch of numbers. But you look at the kind of advanced analytics. And again, without, it's not really my area of expertise, but it says that Arkansas is really about a top 10 team in the country over the last month. And so did you want a better effort? Of course. Does context matter? Yeah, I do think it matters in this case. But ultimately, to your point, Kay, A&M does need to start winning some of these games. It's funny, as somebody who's not, it's not that I'm not a bracketology guy per se. It's just that, it's a different way of looking at college basketball. I don't think that I realize necessarily how close to the bubble A&M has become here over the last couple weeks. So good news is you still got some opportunities, especially at home. I would certainly say that LSU game to end the regular season is a must. And I think the other good thing is you're going to have opportunities in Nashville at the SEC tournament. But obviously, last night would have been the signature win that everybody was hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was a loss in the wins column, or a loss in the loss column, you're still getting quality performance from some of these depth guys. Zach Clements goes off for 29 points last night. Just what are your thoughts about some of this A&M depth and how that's going to help them moving forward?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? I misunderstood the question.
No, you're good. Zach Clements had 29 last night, and that's a guy that, you don't necessarily kind of expect to go off for 30 per se, like Acuff did. But just how about A&M's depth, and how do you think that's going to translate as they do get into March?
No, and I think that's actually a great point by you, is that I think one of the benefits of this system that Bucky runs is that when it's right and when it looks good, you have a lot of different guys that can step up. And so, just as an example, I don't mean to focus on the negative, but I think like one thing that did stand out last night is that like Rylan Griffin is a guy that you've largely been able to rely on. He was essentially a non-factor. Ruben Dominguez, who I've actually been very impressed by, finishes with 0 points. And so I think it's a great point about Zach Clements stepping up. But I think it's also a point of you basically got nothing from two of your key guys, maybe even a third if you want to include Jakari Lane in the mix. And let's be honest, we all know what the final score was, but we also know that probably about the 10-minute mark, it was a game that was probably winnable for the Aggies. Probably not even the 10-minute mark, probably like the 6-minute mark if we're being perfectly honest. And so, again, I know we don't do moral victories. I know that's not what A&M is about. But I would just kind of counter it by saying, like, you basically got nothing from three really key players. It is a credit to Zach Clements stepping up, but I think the counter to it is just the idea that, hey, man, if you even get a little bit from some of these other guys, you're in position to beat one of the best teams in the SEC on the road. And again, I think that bodes well going into the final three regular season games, and then what will obviously be a very important SEC tournament here in a couple weeks.
In your opinion, how important has Rashawn Agee been? Just, even throughout that stretch where A&M was on a heater and winning, but even in the losses, he's still getting things done and trying to do everything he can to win the game for his team.
He's a player I love. So, for people who don't know me, I do live in Los Angeles, and, Eric Musselman, who used to be at Arkansas, ironically, is the coach at USC. And good. He's a player that a year ago I wasn't super familiar with, has a good year at USC. And then I've just been so impressed by what he's been able to do at Texas A&M. Veteran guy, some fans would say too veteran. It seems to be a talking point with Alabama fans whenever they want to defend their terrible decisions. But it doesn't change the fact that, guy is just a warrior. He's obviously a little bit undersized, but plays hard every night, brings it every night. And he's a guy that it's not just an A&M thing. I've enjoyed watching him really over the last 2 years. Now, obviously, A&M fans probably weren't as focused on him last year when he was at USC, but he's been a good player for a while now, and I'm glad he's kind of getting this SEC stage to shine, because I think people are starting to see how good of a basketball player that he is.
Yeah, as we inch closer to March, the Lone Star Showdown will take place at Reed Arena this Saturday. Just how big do you think that one is for Texas A&M?
This Saturday, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's huge, and it's not only huge for A&M, it's huge for Texas as well, is that they're coming off 2 straight losses. There's no shame in losing last night to a really good Florida team that's destroying everybody right now. But they did lose a few games ago against Georgia. And again, I'm far from a bracketology expert, but if you're just using the Joe Lunardi's kind of the quote unquote industry standard, those are 2 teams that are very much fighting for their NCAA tournament lives right now, Texas and Texas A&M. So it becomes a huge game. You obviously got the win in Austin a few weeks ago, but I think, listen, I'm not good enough at the bracketology stuff to know how many wins you need and what it does and blah, 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 blah. But, you do some kind of simple mental math, like Texas is on the bubble, A&M is probably approaching the bubble, if not on the bubble. You get that win, and not only helps you, but it not only hurts one of your rivals, it hurts a team that you're fighting with for one of those last few NCAA tournament spots. So, I think I mentioned it a minute ago, but still some opportunity for A&M. It sounds crazy because there's only 3 regular season games left, but actually, quite honestly, a lot of opportunity. And, curious to see how they respond this coming Saturday, especially because, again, that Texas team is a team that they had a bunch of success against earlier in the season.
I'm curious, you've been covering basketball for a long time. Just how do you view the strength of the SEC this year and compared to maybe what you've seen in past years?
Yeah, it's funny. I know that, again, I'm not a huge, analytics guy, advanced analytics guy, but right now, Lunardi's most recent bracket, the SEC had the most teams. I know there's some stats that will tell you that the SEC is the strongest conference in college basketball. I'll be honest, I really don't see it. And I think one thing, and this is kind of a broader 30,000-foot view thing, is I do think we've, as a college basketball community, become too beholden to the net. And let's take out Texas A&M, this Auburn team that can't beat anybody right now, their whole resume is being propped up by the fact that they played a really tough schedule in November and December. And I get that you want to reward teams for scheduling tough, but at some point you got to win some of these games, and Auburn hasn't done enough. And so, it's funny, I've even talked to coaches, I remember Will Wade, telling me when he was at McNeese State, even going back to the LSU days, he was just yeah, sometimes my team looked better in the computers than on paper. And so I think that can go in a positive way or a negative way of, again, I know A&M isn't looking great right now, but you watch them right in the heart of SEC play when they had whatever it was, that 7-1, 8-1 start. I don't think there's any doubt that they were probably playing better than the numbers reflected. And then the opposite is true as well with a team like Auburn of, okay, cool, you played a bunch of big games, but you haven't beaten anybody. You shouldn't get rewarded for that. So, again, it's a 30,000-foot college basketball conversation that probably needs to be had. I don't know if TexAgs on a Thursday is the perfect place to have the big picture conversation about the net. But I think the SEC is good. I don't know that it's like the perfect metric to truly measure not only how good college basketball teams are, but I think the committee ends up relying a little too much on it. I think I'll be curious to see if it's tweaked or adjusted kind of going into the offseason for that reason.
AT, thank you very much. David Nuño will be back in the host chair next week, so you can tell him you miss him.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sorry to hear that. This was probably the best, most insightful intellectual conversation I've had on TexAgs in months. So thank you, Kay. And I appreciate you. And I'll talk to Nuño next week. Thank you.
Sounds good. Have a good one, AT. That is Aaron Torres on the Bubby's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We're going to hit a break. We will have a little open segment when we come back. Do a little TexAgs today because we've had so much content go out on the site. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
I wish I had Olin here for it because he loves energy drinks. Catalyst Citrus Spark. This is one of the new flavors out there. Whether you're grinding through workouts, cramming for a test, or closing in on a deal or getting ready for TexAgs Live, you never know, right? Fast becoming the go-to fuel for Aggies everywhere. Zero sugar. I'm all in for that. Or synthetic sweeteners, no artificial colors or flavors. Catalyst delivers clean, high-performance energy with smooth, crisp taste that is never syrupy, designed for both health and hustle. You want to get going? You use this Catalyst right here. It's about pure energy and pure results. And what sets them apart? Packed with premium nootropics blended to boost focus, clarity, and mental stamina. I need this. I'm in, guys. I'm in. Plus, with plant-based caffeine, vitamin B12, B6, Catalyst supports metabolism and energy production, making it more than a drink. It's your lifestyle training partner. Built for competitors on the field, Catalyst fuels strength, focus, and pure results. Buy now at drinkcatalyst.com. That is drinkcatalyst.com. Train harder, think sharper, pure results. It's Catalyst.
As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That is at 10:50, but right now, caller number 12 at 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or one large topping pizza from Double Dave's, serving Aggieland since 1984. Double Dave's Pizza, serving up your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls with reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Click doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way.
You killed that, Kay.
Thank you. You know, had to bring out my best David Nuño impression because I've listened to him say that for approximately 4 years, at least every single day. So we're going to head over to the Social Center. That's where Cooper Patterson is, the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. And we're going to hit a little TexAgs today, and I know we have a ton to get to.
Guys, if you are not subscribed to TexAgs, please go to texags.com and subscribe. You are missing out on so much exclusive combine coverage, plenty of other coverage, NIL interviews. Let's get into it. There's so much you're missing out on. It's longer than a list of if a Kappa stole a credit card of a frat rush card at Ole Miss. Shout out the burners. So we have exclusive combine coverage. It's the easiest way to watch all the Aggies full interviews. And today we have Will Lee and Nate Borkature interviewing. All that coverage is presented to you by Snaps Clothing. We also have our Combine Tracker thread over on TexAgs. All of the news that we're getting about the Combine on social media, we're putting right there for you, so you don't have to go find it yourself because you have jobs. That's what we're doing for you. We also have Olin. He has not one, not two, but three stories coming out today about the Combine. We have Reed Report, which will be covering the huge Lone Star Showdown this weekend. We also have Michael Earley and players' media availability before their trip to Arlington this weekend. Today, Jason Howell posted the Around Texas Recruiting Roundup. We have Richard's basketball story and Luke's 5 thoughts. So if you missed the game in Fayetteville, go check those out. You'll get a great idea of what went down. We have 5 NIL interviews from yesterday that 3 of them were posted. Actually, 2, they were just posted this morning, the 2 other ones. We had Aggie Soccer's Trinity Buchanan. We had track star Cameron Dixon. We had Des Ricks, DJ Hicks, and CJ Mims from football. Coming out later today, we'll have a Zach Clements, who just came off his 29-point career-high game in Fayetteville. We'll have his NIL interview, Marcus Hill, Jakari Lane, and then lastly, Brandon Arrington, 5-star corner from California, getting his first time at TexAgs.
Heck of a lot going on. I will also say, I don't know if you mentioned it, a Mike Elko exclusive interview.
Oh, that's right. How could I forget?
How could you forget? Mike Elko exclusive interview on the site hosted by our very own Billy Lucci. They did a great job, and we'll be posting stuff about that all week and making sure you have all your Combine coverage, as well as we have a crew up in Indy. They're doing a great job up there, and we'll have some guys run and jump and things like that today as well. So it'll be exciting to see that. I am going to slide out of the host chair. I know y'all are really disappointed about that, but your favorite Luke Evangelist is going to be on his way. He's going to be sitting down with former A&M star Logan Lee to talk all about last night's loss, kind of what the outlook is heading into these last 3 games, and ultimately, you know, this push as they get to March. So we'll be back. We're going to hit a break. This is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Garner's Jewelers.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm Luke Evangelist, not Kay Nagley, but we are here with Logan Lee, former Texas A&M basketball guard. Logan, we were joking. You were joking with Kay off camera, and she was like, "Who would have thought that Zach Clemence would have a game like that?" And you did. You were the first one to jump on the Zach Clemence bandwagon.
I love the kid. I love the way he plays. I love his skill set. You know, for being as tall as he is and as mobile as he is, his ability and his touch from 4 or 5 feet beyond the three-point line just stretches the floor, and that's the type of player that Bucky needs in this system. You know, it was a matter of when I first saw him in practice, I don't think he missed a shot. He was knocking down threes. He was doing what he did against Arkansas last night, get a little pump fake, go attack the rim, play a little back to the basket. But it was a matter of, hey, can he put it together consistently in this system? And I think you're seeing in what the last 10 games, he has put it together. Now it's a matter of, hey, can Rylan Griffin, can Ruben Dominguez, can Jakari Lane all do the same thing they have been doing while Zach Clemence is putting it together?
Yeah.
They need that. It can't be, this is not a team built on one guy can score 29 points and A&M be successful and win. It's gonna be a team effort, and we saw that last night against Arkansas.
Yeah, on that 7-1 start, you had Rashawn Agee playing an A-plus game. You had Rylan Griffin playing an A-plus game. Ruben Dominguez was too. Jakari Lane was as well. Too many guys right now not playing an A-plus game. And like you said, you're not built to win a game when your starting backcourt combines for 22 points and Rashawn Agee and Zach Clemence combine for 46, right? You love the production you're getting from Rashawn and Zach, but ultimately we know that guard play reigns supreme in March. What are you seeing from guys like Marcus Hill and Rylan Griffin and Jakari and Ruben to where they're just not getting to that level that they were a couple weeks ago?
I think it's a little bit of scouting report, and coaches and opponents are looking at these guys and saying, hey, can we take these guys away, and where are we going to find the most success? Are we going to find success on not letting Marcus Hill get to the basket? Are we going to find success on not letting Jakari Lane control the ball and knock down open threes? Ruben Dominguez, obviously, scouting report is out on him. He's gonna fire it up when he catches. So you got to be within a arm's length distance of him at all times. But the other part is, I think right now it's mental for these guys. They have to fight through the struggles that they've seen in the last 3 or 4 games. And you know, I thought Ruben Dominguez had a couple of open shots against Arkansas last night, and he didn't take them. And that's not why he's on the court. I don't care if he misses those shots. He has to keep the defense focused on, he's going to fire it up. And if he does make one, that could lead to him making 6. And that keeps the defense closer to them, which opens up the lane for Jakari Lane maybe half a second. Yeah. And Jakari needs that half a second because he's the smallest guard in the SEC. And he needs that space. And so you look at the teams that A&M has played and lost to, they are all bigger, stronger, not faster, but more athletic. They're taller, they're longer, and that's what A&M has struggled with. And we knew that going into the season. This is a small team. But now they have to find a way to win those games with a scouting report that opponents have seen find success against them and make some adjustments.
Yeah, and the three-point shot has to be the great equalizer for them. And you're just not going to win games you shouldn't when you only make 8 threes and shoot 32%. You mentioned passing up open looks. Just felt like there were so many moments in that game where Zach Clemence was the only guy not afraid to shoot. And you don't have to tell him twice to rip the ball. Like that shot he had late in the shot clock, right before he picked up his 4th foul, was just like, oh my gosh. Once he hit that, you're like, oh, he's going to go crazy tonight.
He's feeling it. He's got it. But, you know, you mentioned right before he picked up that 4th foul.
Yeah.
Then he had to play conservative. And it changes it changes your game when you know you have 4 fouls and you can't foul, but you have to stay on the court because you're the only one producing. I thought a lot of his shots, unfortunately and fortunately, were at the end of the shot clock, and he made them. But it's because his teammates didn't want to take the other shots leading up to that. And I don't know if that was maybe, hey, let's get it. He's feeling it. Let's get him the ball. Let's figure out a way to get him a better shot. Or if it was, man, I'm not making it right now. I'm not hot right now. Maybe we need to do something else. Their confidence cannot waver. That's what got them to a 7-1 start. It didn't matter if they were playing the bottom 8 teams in the league. It was the fact that, and we talked about this, their confidence was growing with every game. And when you have that confidence and you believe in your system, you can beat a lot of people. They need the ball to bounce their way one time. Yeah. Against Tennessee, had they gotten that game, it could have changed something. Against Missouri, the ball went their way against Auburn.
Right.
That led to the confidence. But they just need to get a meaningful win in the committee's eyes. And they've got 2 chances up in the next 2 games, Saturday against Texas and then against Kentucky.
Yeah.
They've got really good chances to bolster that resume.
And thankfully they get those at home. Even though this team does play, for whatever reason, they seem to play well on the road, or at least above expectations on the road. You would love to have those games at Reed, and thankfully they do. Obviously, Texas is a team that is bigger. They look more athletic at times. And without fail, they seem to be playing pretty well. They almost had Florida last night. They always just play well the week before they're supposed to play A&M, and that's a challenge. Like, it's hard to beat a team twice, and Texas is a good team. Like, that is
for sure.
A well-coached team. They're playing well. They have guards that can get downhill. I still don't know how A&M won that game in Austin without those first 5 minutes where Rylan Griffin went crazy, but they're going to have their best game to beat Texas. There is no, maybe you get a B-plus game and win, or maybe you shoot 35% from 3 and win. I think they need to get back to, they're so due for a 12-3 game where they don't turn the ball over and they make their free throws.
But I don't think that they have a game on their schedule remaining where they can have a B-plus game or a B- game and still win. You look at Arkansas, the game last night. For 25 minutes of that game, A&M did really well against them. There was a stretch in the first half where there were way too many turnovers. We were throwing the ball around everywhere, missing shots. Arkansas was turning up the tempo. There was a point in the second half where Arkansas, we talked about this, what was it, 13 straight field goals?
Yep.
Half of those, I thought the defense was excellent. Acuff is just a talented offensive player, and not only is he an offensive player, I mean he's a well-rounded player. He can score, he can pass. He got some big-time steals down the stretch where they needed it. He's a pro, and even when you have good defense, pros are going to find a way to score. But there were only a handful of possessions during that, from the 12-minute mark down to the 2.5-minute mark, where A&M just had missed assignments. There were maybe 3, maybe 4 if you want to get really picky about it. But A&M still played okay. It's just Arkansas is a really good team.
Yep.
And their size, their length, their athleticism, and Acuff showed them why that they are number 2 in the SEC, and probably, I would say, a top 15 for sure, maybe a top 10 team in the country. They are really good.
Yeah, A&M held Acuff in check for the first half. Him and Malik Thomas combined for 5 points, and you're like, wait a second, maybe A&M's found something. But you can never hold those guards down forever, and they combined for 30 in the second half. And Acuff is just, like we were talking about, such a pro.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time they needed a bucket, he got them one late in that game. And down the stretch, it was just simply Acuff time, and there was nothing A&M could do defensively to slow him down. And the difference is A&M's guy, who was just as hot as Acuff, was having to go in and out of the game because he had 4 fouls, and Zach Clements ends up fouling out. I feel like we've lived this situation 3 times now over the last couple weeks, where he fouled out against Vanderbilt, and then against Missouri, he was the hot hand late, but had 4 fouls, so he couldn't defend, and Missouri was just driving to the hoop easily. What is it about Zach's game? Does he lead the SEC in ticky-tack soft fouls, or does he just need to defend without fouling better? What have you seen from?
It's both, but I also think that you see a lot of his fouls come where they switch and he's on a smaller player. He doesn't have a ton of fouls in the paint guarding a 4 or a 5, so that could lead to his lateral quickness against guards, putting him in a position that he's not necessarily accustomed to. You know, the last 10 games he's played really well, but those are really, in that 10-game stretch, he's gotten very meaningful minutes in a row. If you look at the beginning of the season, he was in and out, subbing in and out, subbing in and out. Right now, he's playing, and he's not getting a ton of bench time. He's staying in there for long spurts, and that's where he's getting his fouls. There's a fine line of what Bucky has to determine where, hey, how do I keep him on the court? How do we not get him to foul? So on and so forth. I attribute it to the fact that he's just not used to playing on the perimeter, and he's got those quicker guards that he's trying to defend.
Yeah,
it's a product of the system, but it's a product of the system that he's gonna, if A&M is going to be successful against Texas, Kentucky, LSU, and so on, he's got to figure it out on his own. Can't use your hands.
Right.
You can't use your hands.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't get an entire offseason before the Texas game to work on lateral quickness and work on general athleticism. He's got to figure that out within the next couple of days. But I feel like this Texas game, it's already a big game because of who you're playing, but for both teams, the stakes could not be higher. A&M's magic number has always been 10. Whether you think A&M can get in with just beating Texas is up to other people's opinions. I personally, and I think we both agree, they need 2. But the magic number to even be in the conversation is 10.
Yep.
Texas's magic number is 9. They're sitting at 8 wins. A&M sitting at 9. Whoever wins this game has the fast track to the NCAA tournament and will likely be ahead of the other when it comes to SEC tournament seeding. Quite literally could not be a more important Lone Star Showdown. I don't, like last year, it was always Texas had to beat A&M to even stay alive in March Madness. This year, it's both teams have a chance to make the tournament, but the winner is going to be sitting pretty compared to the other one having work to do with a week left. What do you want to see from A&M when they play Texas? Obviously, they've got Dalen Swain, who looks to be maybe a first-team All-SEC player. Is that maybe a matchup for Zach Clements to continue to defend without fouling? Does Rylan Griffin draw that matchup? What are you kind of seeing from this Texas game?
I mean, obviously, I want to see the same result that happened in Austin.
Of course.
It's very similar storylines. You know, at the beginning of the season, Texas was on a roll. They looked really good. A&M then had to go into Austin, and everybody's thinking, okay, this could get ugly. The way Texas is playing, A&M has done well, but the way Texas was playing, they were on a roll. They were the hottest team in the SEC at that time. A&M goes in, does exactly what it's supposed to do, and comes away with a win. If A&M doesn't, if Jakari Lane doesn't show up, if Ruben Dominguez doesn't show up, if Rylan Griffin doesn't show up, all at the same time, then it's not going to happen. I'm not saying that all those guys have to have A+ games for them to win on Saturday. But they all have to be consistently good. They can have their mistakes. They can have their droughts. Rylan doesn't have to knock down 5 threes. If he makes 2 threes, but attacks the basket and plays some solid defense, we might be okay. If Ruben Dominguez can knock down a couple of threes, A&M's got a chance to win. You just can't lay a goose egg against this team or any team moving forward. Even, we talk about LSU as the last game, and LSU's not great this year. You can't do that against LSU either.
Right.
Because I feel like everybody has talked about the SEC isn't as good as last season. I don't think they are, as a whole, are as good as last season, but I still think they're a really strong conference and one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in the country. They're just not like they were last season. That doesn't take away from this season. So A&M can't come in to even the bottom tier teams and lay an egg and expect to win. That's just not how they are.
Miss. They laid an egg for 33 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. A 3-13 team that was on a 7-game losing streak.
Yep.
It just every single night they have to show up. I think it starts with confidence. I think it starts with a little bit of a rest. Maybe not practice them as hard, and then rely on the system. That's why Bucky put this in place. He's done a great job coaching this team. He has done everything that he was supposed to do this season. Now it's up to the guys to go perform.
Right. I mean, the fact that we're even having tournament conversations right now,
like legit tournament conversation. This isn't a conversation of exactly. This isn't a conversation of they still control their destiny, but they're going to have to win 6 in a row.
Right.
No, it's hey, let's take this game. Let's see what happens. Even if they lose on Saturday, they're not out of the tournament.
Right.
It doesn't kick them out. So it's not necessarily a must-win game. It's just a big game.
Yeah.
There's a lot on the line, and not to mention, it's the Lone Star Showdown. It's a rivalry game. You want to win it, even if Texas were 0-14 and A&M were 14-0. You want to win that game, or vice versa. If A&M's 0-14, I mean, you want to win this game because it's the Lone Star Showdown. It's a game against Texas.
Yeah, you mentioned meaningful tournament conversation. The fact that we're even, the fact that A&M is like a whole seed line above the bubble is remarkable, and it stands to what Bucky and his staff have done and what these players have done. I don't think anybody would have expected them to be in this position when they didn't fully practice until December 3rd. Mackenzie's out for the year. They were picked 13th. For all their adversity, they are still standing and still give themselves a great chance to make the NCAA tournament. Logan, I appreciate you joining me, and hopefully next time we see you, it's after A&M has gone 2-0 over Texas and Kentucky.
Man, that would be fantastic.
Locks up a spot in
everybody show up to Reed Arena. Show up to Reed Arena on Saturday. It's a big game, a rivalry game. 12th man is going to be needed because there are going to be some ups and downs, so hopefully we can pack Reed.
I was about to say, what do the kids say? It's pack Reed.
Pack Reed.
That's the slogan these days. Always appreciate you joining me, Logan. Keep it locked on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, and we'll be back after this short break.
Gotta let you know, Cooper Patterson. I think the light at Olson Boulevard and George Bush Drive, right there by the ballpark and the indoor track facility, might be my number one op right now. It is quickly moving up the list. Just got back from Mike Earley's press conference as the Aggies head to Arlington later today for that 3-game baseball series at Globe Life Field. Got to hear a little bit more from Coach Earley and, of course, Jake Dewar as he's headed back more towards his hometown. He's actually born in L.A., grew up a little bit in New York, but played his prep baseball at Flower Mound Marcus High School. So a lot of Metroplex kids going home this weekend for the Fighting Texas Aggies. Great to hear from Luke Evangelist. Logan Lee talk some hoops as the Aggies unfortunately couldn't get a win last night in Northwest Arkansas, but the stakes have never been higher for this weekend's Lone Star Showdown against the Texas Longhorns. Saturday, 3 p.m. tip-off. Want to check the Catalyst Pure Performance text line right now because we haven't done that, I believe, at any point today. Sorry, we do appreciate your calls and your texts. 979-693-1150, the number if you want to interact with the show. And we're going to go hear a couple of interactions over at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. More from Cooper Patterson. We're really nice. What is that? Is that like a maroon camo shirt?
Maroon camo Burlebo polo.
Burlebo's legit, man. Burlebo is legit. What do you have for us on the Catalyst Pure Performance text line?
So if you didn't see yesterday, it was all over social media. Coach Tommy Moffitt was named the ITL, or In the League, Strength Coach of the Year. And Jim and Temple had a nice comment about it that I'd love to hear your reaction to. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty long. But basically, he's saying that it's such a huge hire to get Tommy Moffitt from Coach Elko when he was released from LSU, and that it's huge for recruiting offensive linemen. He talks about how Mark Naboo is the only starter returning and picking up those guys like Cohen Eccles and Tyree Adams, who are also from LSU. We also got Wilkin Formby and Trevon Baugh from South Carolina. Huge offensive line gets. How important is the strength coach to a team's both identity and recruiting? Because it seems huge so far with Tommy Moffitt.
So I think Tommy Moffitt in particular is important to recruiting. I think he's even bigger to the on-field develop, or I guess it would be off-field development and strength of the guys once they get to the program. You want to talk about Tyree Adams and Cohen Eccles coming over from LSU. Keep in mind that Coach Moffitt was not there because Brian Kelly tried to send the message when he arrived, trying to change things. Tommy Moffitt wasn't in Baton Rouge when those two guys were playing for the Bayou Bengals. But regardless, as a high-caliber athlete, and I'm sure each one of those offensive linemen would say this, and it doesn't just limit itself to Maroon Goons or guys on the offensive front. It's at every single position. They want to be the best, and they want to work with the best. And Tommy Moffitt is certainly one of the best in the entire country, if not the best in the entire country, as he picks up an individual accolade. So yeah, important for recruiting, more important for what they do in the offseason as they get ready to be bigger, faster, stronger when kickoff rolls around here in late August. Coop, anything else on the Catalyst Pure Performance text line? Good text, by the way. Who is it from?
Jim and Temple.
Great job, Jim. Great to hear from you, Jim.
So Joseph from Houston, he asked about, I didn't do the math on all this. He asked how many people we have in the draft this year. We have 13 at the combine, plenty more that have entered their name into the draft. What percentage of starters from the team will eventually be drafted, and what percentage do we need for playoff success? I didn't do the math on that, but what are your rough estimates of what that needs to look like for a successful
Joseph,
program?
You are asking the wrong guy. But if you want to hear from the right guy, and you're going to hear a little bit from him after this next break, Mike Elko, I believe, talked about that for a little bit with Billy Lucci on an exclusive sit-down yesterday right here at the TexAgs desk. Double digits is always a good benchmark to aim for as far as guys getting invited to the combine, and A&M certainly hopes to have double-digit guys taken in April when the draft eventually does arrive. But the important thing is that you keep restocking, you keep replenishing the starters that leave, right? And A&M, they hope, and it sounds like they feel like they do have guys who are ready to step into those starting spots, right? Your offensive line is going to be rebuilt, right? To tie it back to Jim's text from a little bit ago. The offensive line's losing 4 guys on the offensive front. Now who's going to step in? Who's going to replace those guys? They've got a handful of really impressive transfer portal additions on the offensive front, but they've also got guys in the program that have been working with Tommy Moffitt and Adam Cushing and Mike Elko's entire program for a couple of years, that they feel confident or ready and poised to take the next step. And Coach Elko even said it on this sit-down that you might hear from in a little bit, the competition. He's really excited about the competition, and I believe competition breeds greatness. And the goal, at least through the spring and then in the summer camp and fall camp, is to have that kind of competition that allows you to have an elite football team on the football field when things kick off here in August. With that, time for another break here on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. When we come back, we'll hear an excerpt from that sit-down Billy Lucci had with Mike Elko on the other side. Last half hour of the show here on a Thursday morning. This is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. And yesterday was a really awesome day here at TexAgs because we had an extremely special guest stop by, chatted with Billy Lucci for 40 minutes, something like that. Of course, I'm talking about Texas A&M head football coach Mike Elko, as the Aggies are in the middle of the off season. He's headed to Indianapolis for the Combine today. But before he got on a jet to the Hoosier State, he stopped by right here. You can find the full interview on TexAgs.com. You have to be a TexAgs Premium subscriber. But we're going to play a taste of Billy Lucci's exclusive sit-down with Mike Elko right now.
The man needs no introduction. We should just dive in this week. It's been an off season. We haven't talked. We've talked. People here haven't heard from you. They love this segment more than they, like you like to say, they like it more than Ask Lucci. They prefer
lunch with Elko.
Lunch with Elko, exactly. They love lunch with Elko. They get enough lunch with Lucci. So let's dive right in. It's been you're already like halfway deep into the off season, which is insane. Yeah. Spring ball around the corner. You guys are doing team stuff now. Just having put 2024, 2025, and all the accomplishments behind you, looking ahead, how do you feel health of the program now versus a year ago? I won't even ask you about versus 2 years ago, although that would be a fun one too.
No, I think obviously all arrows are pointed in the direction we want them to point. Mm-hmm. And when we got here, we talked a lot about becoming a program that accomplished things that could go into an off season and have people talking about what we accomplished, right? And so 11 wins, playoff berth, 10 guys potentially getting drafted, 13 guys at the Combine. Like all of those things are what we want people to be talking about Texas A&M football in the offseason. And so I think we've built on that momentum. We had a really strong portal class. We're excited with the 26 class that mid-year enrolled, and now trying to build to double down and go do it again this fall.
Someone asked me this past week, we're doing a podcast, and they said, is this the new standard? And I answered it like, yeah, I believe it is. It doesn't mean no one's getting there every year, right? Yeah. But that's you guys set a new bar, I thought, for A&M football. And to do it in year two, I thought sent a message to college football, which is important. It's important for visibility and recruiting, but also for your locker room. I mean, is that the new standard? Is, hey, we want to be in this thing every year from here on out?
Yeah, I think that's how we've talked since the day we got here, that the standards of this program should be that. When the word I've used a lot is like validation. Like you get validation in your locker room that this is real. You get validation with the national media that maybe this is different for Texas A&M. And again, all of that does is build momentum towards you having to go out there and do it again for sure. But I think what we achieved in the fall kind of put some people on alert that maybe what we're doing down here is different than what's happened in the past.
Well, you look at coaches like yourself and Kurt Cignetti. I think maybe Lanning in year two had a breakthrough there at Oregon. But in today's day and age of NIL and the portal, and how important is it? I remember the day and age when it was like, hey, give the coach. It's only year 4, it's year 5. I feel like those days are gone. So how important was this past season in terms of just, again, getting the attention of the college football world? And I feel like, we cover and follow recruiting here, and I feel like it's at another level that, frankly, I haven't seen in a long time. And I'm talking about what's ahead, not even these last couple of years, which have been, lauded nationally. But how important was it to have that breakthrough that quickly?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think we talked about needing to elevate, what Texas A&M football was, not what it was capable of, what it really was. You and I had talked a lot about some of the numbers that were real and what reality looked like, and I think we're changing a lot of that, and I think we're changing a lot of that narrative, and I think that buzz is palpable when you go out and you talk to people and. Again, Indianapolis is about to start tomorrow at the Combine, and there's going to be a lot of conversation about Texas A&M football. at the combine, right? And that's a really good thing for our program.
So much so that we sent a crew up there for the first time since we've been doing this. You get 13 play. I mean, and hopefully that's an annual thing. And I know that's, you and I have talked about that since you got here. Last year, 3 players at the combine. This year, 13. 3 drafted. I think fair bet that we could threaten double digits.
Yeah, it should
this
be
year.
10 plus. Yeah.
So what I was really interested in is just kind of looking at your roster when you got here. There might have been, and there's a couple TBDs still, but 4 draft picks on the defensive side of the ball, roster-wise. This year alone, I think you topped that. But 7 players potentially drafted this year out of the portal.
Yeah.
From all backgrounds. You know, and big schools, small schools. What goes into that? Take us through that evaluation, what you look for, because you love a guy like Cassius Howell. You love a guy, but then there's Des Ricks. There's some of these, you know, Horton.
No, I've talked about it a lot. Like NFL players come from all different shapes and sizes, right? And maybe not sizes, but like in terms of what are they ranked, where are they playing, how did they go through the recruiting process? I think one of the fortunate things about my background is I experienced some of that. You know, I recruited Jesse Bates out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, who becomes a second-round draft pick and has started every game in an 8-year NFL career. He had 1 Power 4 offer. I don't even know how many stars that is, right? But I've also, you know, been at other places where we had 5-star kids that fulfilled their potential and became first-round draft picks. You know, I was with Mike McGlinchey. I was with Quentin Nelson at Notre Dame. Like, you know, those are 2 really talented offensive linemen that were the top offensive linemen in the country coming out, right? And everything in between. And so I think what it does is it just makes you try to identify skill sets, traits, characteristics, mental makeup of what you think an NFL player looks like. And again, I've said this before, we're not perfect by any stretch, but that's the idea, right? And that's the recruiting. And then you got to give Derek Miller and his staff a ton of credit. Those guys do a phenomenal job of scouting and identifying the right prospects and the right talent, and then being able to go out there and land them and get them here.
I think people, what's the guy, you'll know his name. I think you guys, from covering it, had him as a very early target a year ago out of one of the MAC schools, and then he ended up saying, "No, I'm just going straight to the draft." It was a first-round pick at corner.
Oh, the corner from Toledo.
That was one. Like that's an example.
When we got hired, there was Stan Watson on our staff, coaches our edges. His brother was the D-backs coach at Toledo, and we had heard about this kid playing, and so you come in and you watch the tape, and you're like, "Holy cow!
Yeah,
I wonder if this kid's going in the portal." And it turned out, no, he was going to be a first-round draft pick from Toledo. And like there's talent everywhere. You just got to find it.
Was there anybody in this year's portal class that kind of came from off the radar that as soon as you saw him, you were like, "Oh yeah, we need to get him"?
I'm trying to think off the radar. Angelo McCullum, maybe the D tackle from Illinois.
Yeah,
I thought that was an interesting one. When he went in the portal, that was a kid that kind of wasn't a kid that we had targeted or knew or identified, and all of a sudden he goes in the portal, and you watch his tape, and we saw a skill set in him that we thought we can really, you know, help mold and grow and develop. I thought that was a really interesting tape. I think the Ricky Gibson one, just because he hadn't played last year, that one maybe flew off the radar a little bit. You know, I do think we're getting a little bit more on the radar now with where we are from a recruiting standpoint, but those are maybe 2 that just pop into my head.
Ricky was a funny one to me when he walked in here, and he joked about it, and he said, "Yeah, I think it's an advantage for me." On his tape, I thought he was going to come in here shorter, like squatty, like really. He's so physical, and he walked in. He's long, rangy corner, and he said, "Yeah, I think a lot of times when we play against guys, they think they're going to play me one way, and they realize I have length." His tapes popped out to me.
There's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, you know, we got to go play football. And I've said this a lot too. And this is my favorite part of it. And you know this because you know how important competition is to me. You know, you look at, okay, we're really excited about Ricky Gibson. Well, we're also really excited about Julio Humphrey.
Yeah.
And we're also really excited about Adonis Curry. And then we brought in some freshmen. And so you've got this Whereas maybe year one in some positions, it was like, okay, this portal kid's coming in, and I don't really have a guy on the roster to compete with him.
He's going to play.
Yeah, he's going to play.
Yeah.
We just better hope it works out. Now you have really, really intense competition because, each one of those kids believes it's their time. Julio believes second year in the system, it's his time. And Adonis Curry thinks, okay, now I've got college football figured out. It's year 2. It's my time. Obviously Ricky Gibson has been an SEC starter. He certainly thinks it's his time. Des Ricks thinks, and that's ultimately what we're trying to create in this program is competition that drives everybody to be what they're capable of being.
I think one of the positions that falls in line with that, but really stood out, it was pretty clear, and I know there were other people that y'all brought in for visits and whatnot that weren't SEC players, but you took 4 portal linemen, all 4 from the SEC, and we mentioned Gibson and Isaiah Horton, maybe even another 1 or 2, but at least 6 guys from the SEC. How much easier does it make it when you guys are evaluating, when you can watch either, obviously in some instances, play against them, but just watch them against, like, you can watch an O-lineman and see how he blocked South Carolina or Texas or Miami, knowing what they are. Does that make it a lot easier? Yeah, and probably the O-line is probably the biggest position where it creates a little level of comfort for you when you're evaluating because, it's well known and documented, right? The size, speed combination of defensive linemen in this conference is a little different. And so it's hard to truly know what an O-lineman's going to be like blocking those kinds of people. And so when you're watching him go against the best of the best, and he can block those guys. He can handle edge rushers in this league. He can get movement on inside D tackles in this league. It makes you a lot more comfortable. And so, I think that position probably more than any SEC experience probably holds a few more weights in our evaluation process. What really caught my eye too, and it's hard to do now, was you guys pretty much kept everyone else on the O-line, which means I think people are naive, and you just referenced it, to think that it's just going to be an all portal O-line plus Naboo, the returning starter. Oh, yeah. So much competition, but that was a priority for you guys, right? Like, we want third-year plus guys in our system. Yeah. And I guess that would be more, those guys are probably trying to get poached from everybody. Yeah, no, and I think, too, like, the other part is we want the younger guys to have to beat someone out. And that's what we told them. Like, we're not bringing kids in to start. We're bringing in kids because we still have some gaps in the older classes. Yeah. You should feel as though to become the best player, like if you're a sophomore starter, like you should have to beat somebody out, right? And if you're really good, you can do that, right? And we certainly think there'll be great battles on the offensive line. And you think about guys like Robbie Bourdon, and you think about Lamont Rogers, and you think about Nelson McGuire and Blake Ivy, and those guys are all ready to go out there and start. And but what you don't ever want to be in a situation is where you're handing people things because then maybe they don't become everything they're capable of becoming, and your team maybe doesn't hit the ceiling you want it to hit.
Thank you to the full episode. Billy Lucci, Mike Elko sat down. It's 41 minutes and 33 seconds. You can find it all. TexAgs.com. You got to be a TexAgs premium subscriber to hear everything the head football coach said, and it is worth your time and money if I do say so myself. We'll hit one more break here on this Thursday morning edition of TexAgs Live. We'll wrap up the show and tell you what you can expect tomorrow when we come back.
What's up, everybody? I'm here to tell you about Fratella Italian Cafe. If anyone knows anything about Italian food, it's me, Billy Lucci. And Fratella has the best Italian food in BCS. Located at 3901 South Texas Avenue, Fratella is known for their handmade pasta dishes and feature lasagna, beef cannelloni, chicken parmesan, chicken fettuccine alfredo, a couple of my favorites, just a big old bowl of plain old spaghetti and some manicotti. Really recommend the manicotti. That's my go-to. And don't walk out of there without trying the fresh piping hot breadsticks and the homemade in-house cheesecake, which is incredible. It's great for dining in, catering, gift cards, and even shipping, which they do nationwide. Fratello's is Aggie-owned and operated, and it's an official restaurant partner of Texas A&M Athletics. I'll see you there.
As we do every day, it's time to end the day with Double Dave's. The final segment of TexAgs Live is always brought to you by Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150. The pizza is yours. We're checking in with Cooper Patterson over at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. One final check of the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy text line. Coop, what do we have?
Derm Doc, one of our regular friends here on the chat, said, I really like almost all of our head coaches right now. Early just needs to win this year.
Really like all of our head coaches. I won't even say almost all of them. I'll say I like all of them, right? Coach Earley, obviously, he knows what he's got to do this spring as the conference plays approaching very quickly. It was great to hear from Coach Elko. He's got a great energy about him that, you see him walk in the door, you immediately start feeling better. It was really awesome to hear from him yesterday here on this show. And like I said on the last segment, it's worth your time. It's worth your money to listen to the full 42-minute interview Billy did with the head football coach. And then you got Bucky McMillan, who's shown really, really positive progress in year one. They very much have their work cut out for them, but they still control their own destiny as it relates to making the NCAA tournament, because beating Texas, beating Kentucky, and then going on the road to LSU to close the year is not an easy path, but it's certainly a doable path. And then on the women's side of things, right? Trisha Ford yesterday, she's awesome. Joni Taylor is awesome to hear from. The golf coaches, both of them, fantastic. Want to talk about one other coach, by the way. We got a text earlier today from the head men's tennis coach, Steve Denton. It is men's tennis alumni weekend here in Aggieland. They take on Georgia tomorrow at the Mitchell Tennis Center at 6 p.m. On Saturday, you can tour the facility from 4 to 5 p.m. There's also dinner at the Letterman's Club in Kyle Field from 6 to 8. And then on Sunday, there will be hitting in the grandstand at 10 a.m. Alumni recognition will begin at 12:45, and then the Aggies will face Vanderbilt at 1 p.m. So a lot of stuff going on at the Mitchell Tennis Center as the men's tennis team hosts its alumni weekend this weekend against Georgia and Vanderbilt. As we wrap up this edition of TexAgs Live, I want to give you a precursor, a little bit of what you can expect tomorrow on the show. We'll have more from David Nuño and Olin Buchanan at the NFL Combine. You'll hear from Laura Rutledge, who David interviewed earlier this morning. In the 9 o'clock hour, Pounding the Rock with Luke and Tap as we get ready for the Lone Star Showdown. And then the Baseball Bunch with myself, Ryan Broninger, Scott Clendenin at 9:20 ahead of the trip up to Arlington. And then the 10 o'clock hour, you never know where it's going to go because the man steering the ship can take it in many number of directions. Of course, I'm talking about the TexAgs co-owner and executive editor, Billy Lucci, Lunch with Lucci at 10 a.m. on Friday morning. On the way out, I want to say thank you, give shout-outs to all the wonderful people who made this show possible. First and foremost, my wonderful co-hosts, Kay Nagley, Luke Evangelist, pitching in with different interviews. The man who's directing everything this week, Cade Bickham, fantastic job. We call him Panicking Cade Bickham. No panic so far this week. Knock on wood, we're going to keep that rolling. Cooper Patterson, the News and Social Center, leading a group of fantastic interns that includes Justin Pius, Tegan, we've got Diego, and then solo dolo in the back is my boy Dean. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.